Ah, my friend, you have deserted the seas for the comforts land has to offer. Welcome home. Aye, it was time. If not for the passing, my torch would be extinguished. Can you truly give up what she offers? Her countless mysteries, her beauty, her treachery, all found in the journey, which is most precious of all. Aye, my heart fractures. A new generation must conquer the unknown in my stead. I'm glad you made it, my friend. But I must ask, where did you send those young men? Currents beyond memory. We've tread them before. Like many things once essential, they have been lost. Surely you haven't sent them into uncharted waters. Safety is readily available in the mainstream. Many ships and a sure passage. Nay. Untold scores of brave men created the path. Us amongst them. Where once innovation and creativity, where now stands idle bootlickers and hapless cowards. So nay, I did not send them to the mainstream. I've simply given them a heading. They may fail. Aye, they may. 'Tis the risk of great men. But a new age is here. In its course will be set upon the iron seas of fate. And to these brave men and women I say, Godspeed, and hail the Iron Age. Ever shall we die?
Wow, somebody made that? That was amazing.
Yeah, I know.
I can't believe that.
Oh,
It's crazy.
Dude, I'm so happy. I'm so happy we were able to put that together so fast. It came out really good. Congratulations. Yes. We all did a great job, especially me. No, I'm kidding. No, it was great, man. This is what collaboration works, because we basically did this in like all this stuff in like what, 2 days? And, like,
yeah, listen, this show's no fucking joke, dude. We go hard, all right? We're bringing our fucking game.
We go hard! Hard!
Taking it seriously, at least. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This is the show to be at.
Yeah.
I know. It's just the boys. Speaking of the boys, one of our topics that we wanted to kind of talk about was Invincible versus the boys. I'm curious to hear what Joe and I talked about this a little bit before stream started, but Andy, AC, what do you think? How do you feel about both those shows, like just in general?
I have yet to watch Invincible. I've been needing to. I have seen the first season of The Boys, and at the time it got me pretty excited to see the next one. But obviously I didn't go watch the next one, so I guess not excited enough. But I will say that's fair. The idea of like an evil Superman, I have opinions on. But in the case of like The Boys and Invincible, I think they do kind of create their own thing enough, if that makes sense. There's arguments to be made, obviously, but I don't have as much of a distaste about that than some other more obvious, egregious examples. You know what I mean?
I agree. Like Injustice, the original story wasn't bad, but it's been overdone in DC Comics specifically so many times. It's become what's weird about Invincible and The Boys is that they're both kind of deconstructions of the superhero genre, and they came out kind of around the same time in regards to the TV show.
Didn't DC also have another superhero team that was like an inverse of their characters, like besides Injustice, with like Owlman or something?
Many of them. Yeah. It's happened all throughout the history of DC Comics. Truth be told, even Marvel's even Marvel Comics are guilty of that.
Yeah,
but Invincible. Foodman Blue says Invincible is worth a watch, and I watched it season 1 at least twice. They split up season 2, so I'm going to rewatch it all again.
Yeah, he's not going to be a fan of my opinion on this.
I'm sure. What I'll say is, I did watch The Boys. I found it funny. I got really tired of it, and I am not going to continue with that series. Right. I don't know if I even could finish season 3, but I did enjoy Invincible for what it was trying to do, and I think it hit the mark that it was aiming for reasonably well. Now, it's not for everybody. Right. Battsauce, a huge Invincible fan. He has he writes in permanent marker Mark Grayson on his arm, and it's what he does.
No, The Boys season 1 was really good. I very much enjoyed it. Season 2 was a little bit downhill, and then season 3 was a mess for me. So I mean, I wish they would go back to like season 1. Like it felt like they had to like craft their ways to defeat these superheroes. And then I think it was season 3 they introduced their like temp superpowers, and I'm like, dude, you kind of just
so I did see
ruined the whole concept of this show.
Right.
But
was the Boys based on source material? I think it was, right?
Yeah,
okay.
There's a comic series, The Boys.
Yeah. And it deferred a bit in like season 3. Now, Invincible, I think you take out the shock value, and shock value can be done well. George R.R. Martin does shock very well.
Sometimes.
Yes, but shock value is worth it being in something. Yeah. But I think Invincible, it relies on the shock value. You take the shock value out of it, it's like kind of nothing.
Your wife brings up a great point. R.I.P. Starlight Actress's face. Yes.
Yeah.
She was such a cute little like American girl, and something she got slapped with silicone. Man, I don't know what.
Every show. They happen in what was?
She's so young. She's younger than anyone here by quite a bit. Holy crap!
That's weird. What was the show about Lucifer?
Lucifer.
Yeah.
Well, that show.
Where they romanticized him.
Yeah,
It's such a weird. It's such a weird. Like, I understand why they did it, but it doesn't represent anything biblical, like, really at all in any capacity.
No, there's the one.
Obviously, yeah.
There's the one line about how the devil is supposed to be, a wolf in sheep's clothing, essentially. Like he's actually, ironically, super attractive and charming and impossible to resist in a lot of ways.
Well,
so I think they just leaned really hard into that and then just kind of wrote their own story around all of it.
Well, it's not even like most people's idea of Lucifer isn't really biblically accurate.
Right.
I mean, the concept of Lucifer mostly comes from that the one story, Paradise Lost, right? So most people get their concept of the devil from that, and they also misuse the phrase "better to serve in hell or to reign in hell than serve in heaven." Right? Is that the quote?
That quote is such a grift, dude.
Well, it's a really good quote when you're like, yes, the devil said that. It's and the whole story, it's like he's miserable. He's miserable being in hell. And
of course he is. That's the whole it wouldn't be much of a hell if he was happy.
That's the idea.
Right. Yeah. So but
back to I'll say I enjoyed Lucifer despite what it is inherently. I did enjoy the first season and a half, maybe 2 seasons. I thought it was entertaining. It was entertaining seeing someone just kind of who doesn't care, just try to provide. He was more like a Sherlock Holmes than a demon, really.
The actor was pretty charismatic too.
Yeah,
it got a little old after a while, but
yeah.
Well, a show like that, it relies on the gimmick, which is what a lot of American and even some Japanese shows do as well. They have this gimmick, and some of them, if there's not more than that, they run out of good storytelling and they plummet fast in quality.
And I have a thought on that too. When it comes to storytelling, when and this actually is speaking from experience with my music, and it's only evolved since I kind of figured this out back in the day.
Hey, oh wait, wrong person. Hail, Andrew Campbell. There you go.
Hail. But essentially, when a band or an author or a movie maker or insert whatever creative endeavor here leans into a stereotype, what's it called? A fad, a trope, or the grift, the illusion,
gimmick, honestly.
A gimmick. Yeah. What happens is your entire project now that's associated with that has a shelf life that's the same as that gimmick. So unless
you have something more, you need to have something more.
And that's what
One Punch Man.
That's the thing. So does One Punch Man have a defined ending? Are they trying to drag that out?
I don't know. I know it's top tier.
Yes, they do.
By people.
It's not finished, but he has confirmed there is an ending.
Okay, so that's what I'm getting at with storytelling is when you're very aware that you have a gimmick or this just this shallow thing that is kind of taking on the face of your entire project, you need to also be smart enough to plan an end for that's explosive and leaves people wanting more, rather than the Lucifer effect that we were just talking about, where you get sick of it,
Yeah, you can't drag things on forever. And I will say, my wife mentioned it in the comments, but yeah, I have this whole thing where it's if you notice a lot of shows, the first season is fantastic. And then after that, it usually is just a steep decline.
Well, because American shows keep being made while they're still making money. And so that means they keep going well beyond their shelf viability.
Well, my theory is that it's because they're selling the pitch, right? But they never think past the pitch.
Yeah.
To get a show sold is really hard. So they have this really interesting concept, and that first season really grabs you because you're like, wow, this is a crazy concept. And then the second season, you're like, they took that concept nowhere because they didn't think past that. And then they're scrambling it together to try to put something together, and you're like, oh, yeah, this wasn't a full thought. This was
I think kind of a thought. One area where Japan might outclass American television.
Oh, yeah.
Because manga and anime, and even their drama, K and J dramas, they'll have a gimmick kind of like that, but the show isn't usually very long. That's the difference.
Right.
They don't outlive the viability of the gimmick when they have a gimmick kind of styled show. Most of the time, anyway.
On that note, I will say that like an example of maybe the opposite, and this is just anecdotal for me because I'm not like I don't know how to put it, like a diehard. I haven't like intensely studied every aspect of this author, but the creator of Attack on Titan, I believe he just had, like what Battsauce said, a gimmick that they sold at first. Like, what did you say? A pitch. The pitch. That's what it was. They had a pitch that he sold at first, which was essentially The Walking Dead, but like giants.
Oh, I disagree with this.
Well, hold on now, because I heard that he didn't actually have the ending in mind at first, and the dude was learning how to draw still. So, like, what's the definition of selling the pitch? Then you don't even know how to draw, and you don't have an ending, but yet here's one of the biggest animes ever. I'm not talking shit either.
It was basically chicken scratch. It used to be really, really bad, but then he captured people's hearts and minds with the story, because there's like Saitama himself, his conflict is never physical. That's the whole point of his character. All his entire conflict is overcoming the kind of status that he has created, the place in life where nothing threatens or excites him anymore, where he doesn't feel human emotion. And that really resonated with a lot of people, including me.
Well written Superman, but what were you going to say about Size?
Yeah, well, I was going to say I feel like he left breadcrumbs in the beginning, but
he did.
Well, let's get back to the topic, because I don't want to stray too far. Invincible. I was not a fan. Like I said, the shock value. I think that the show was completely just consisted of shock value. So like from a comedy aspect, like I feel like it's not too much of a comedy, and then like they just do things that don't really make sense, and they last a lot by plot armor. Like the amount of times. What's that?
Plot armor is never good, but please continue.
No. And my biggest gripe was like the whole logic between the war that his race had, and where they try to like have their race, the invincible race, to try to get rid of the weak. And I'm like, well, first off, that's a really bad way to figure out who's the strongest. And second of all, it goes on, and I've already seen it in videos that later in the story, that the lack of invincible people is a serious problem. they're true, like throughout the story, they're just completely like kind of thinned out. And I'm like, wow, what if you guys had like more people? I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't have war.
Might have been nice.
Yeah. Might have been nice. Turns out you guys are just like really powerful aliens that don't really need to fight each other. You're all strong already. So it's just like a type of Darwinism, I think.
Yeah. Like there's no reason for them not to keep reproducing. Also, I don't get why it's a bad thing. Like the show doesn't explain why it's a bad thing if they take over.
Well, because
they literally like without
basically conquest and colonization bad. That's basically the only thing.
Right, but they don't even say that they're like gonna enslave him or anything or torture him. Like apparently they're just gonna take over the world. I'm like, okay, so are they gonna affect small government?
They will rule, but they'll give you technology. Like Omni-Man even talks about that episode 8 and 7. He's like, well, we will bring them technology.
Well, without
they're living in the Stone Age.
The planet's gone because they get attacked by these super monsters like on a weekly basis. So I'm like, you guys would be better off with their security. Please, somebody explain to me why them taking over is a bad thing. I get it. You don't get to vote for them, but like,
here's the thing, I think, and I think they do touch on this. My knowledge of Invincible extends as far as the videos I've watched on some of the lore. I really love diving into lore of worlds, just random, like
I'm a lore whore.
Yeah, a little bit of a lore. So, my understanding is if the invincible race takes over Earth and humanity, we become their chinchillas. So yes, we get technology as much as a dog gets a harness and dog food and stuff like that eventually.
But there's not enough of them to do that.
Well, one Omni-Man.
They're already thinned out. So how much resources could they contribute to the planet once they take over it? And we've agreed to it. Like, what's the max that they could put? Like 5? Well, what's 5 people gonna do?
But doesn't one Omni-Man take the whole planet though?
Yeah. So what is one person gonna do to the whole planet? There's so many people on a planet that how many people can possibly be inconvenienced by this?
Well, and then they're also like super immortal.
What have we done?
Hey, almost there. Almost there.
Just from he went into one
For dinner?
What's up, Resident One?
There we go.
You don't seem to understand. Earth isn't yours to conquer.
All right, that's it.
Okay.
Well, that was an awesome scene. I agree. There's some awesome scenes in this.
I think that's what people are afraid of. But anyway,
No, wait. Well, take Omni-Man out of there. That race takes over the planet.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, because they can breed with humans too. So eventually.
Oh, they can breed with everything apparently, and do.
Yeah.
And do.
Spoilers, AC, but it's true.
Oh, cool.
I am worn out. Long drive after seeing God change the sun's light bulb. Yeah, that's what he did.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
dude, it was overcast. I'm on the West Coast. I didn't see anything. Nothing.
Yeah.
It was raining.
I missed it.
Yeah. I was like,
wow, would you look at the eclipse? You mean the gray clouds? Yep.
Yeah. Cool. It dimmed a little bit.
Tremendous. Now, something that we kind of talked this is something in our notes here that I kind of want to talk about before we continue criticizing everything else in the mainstream. Why criticism in the mainstream isn't fun anymore? I.e., Silver Surfer is hate watching funding the shows. I'm curious what you guys think about this. I have a
couple topics.
Yeah.
My plan with the Silver Surfer topic was I was actually I looked at a little bit into it. I was going to steelman it and see, because it's pretty obvious, right? But I was going to steelman it to see if what we could dig up from that as far as because I said, it's really, really obvious that it's what's the
agenda pushing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there is a comic where this character is a Silver Surfer for one comic, and she dies at the end. And she dies at the end.
Existed.
Yeah.
Literally, everybody learned about this character for the first time.
You know what's sad? Most of these people don't even know what the Silver Surfer is.
Yeah.
It's a character, but it's also a mantle. It's not like Thor, Thor is a mantle, not like that. No, the power of the Silver Surfer, cosmic power, comes from being a herald of Galactus.
Silver Surfer is not a mantle. Being a herald of Galactus is a mantle.
Yeah.
He is a specific character, but he is a herald of Galactus. That's where his power comes from.
They have a whole list of people they could have used, and
Thor was a herald at one point.
I mean, a lot of people have been here. Yeah, but you got to be careful because the comics did pretty much everything, so it's a lot of dumb comics. I mean, shit, they did a female Silver Surfer.
Yeah. A couple.
Speaking
of
comics.
After
one comic.
Yeah.
There you go.
But
what do you guys think about channels? I'm happy to criticize dumb stuff when we see it, but what do you think of channels that's all that they do? Do you think it's so? I think it's cathartic, but I think there comes a point where people we've all gone through it already. We're all kind of done with watching that kind of content for the most part.
And that's kind of how it feels. Is we've been watching that for so long, and we kind of feel like the fight's over a little bit, but. Yeah. It's still there, right? It's just we've gained some leverage in the overall fight, but it's not done. I don't think so. Now I still watch some of that stuff, but it's not. The topics are not nowhere near as entertaining as they were, and I also like to think about it when I was in the Marine Corps. We have our set of jokes, right? And you tell a joke and it didn't matter how many times you told it, it was funny and nobody around you probably heard it, even though you yourself heard it 1,000 times. Yes. So I feel like it's similar with this mainstream stuff is we see something stupid come up in the mainstream, and it's like, Jesus Christ, they're doing this again, and we're like, we heard it a million times, but we aren't everybody. So,
Right.
Yes.
like, and that's why those channels like FNT, Geeks and Gamers,
That's why they're still around.
And they're doing better than ever. And there's a reason. It's just because we've heard the joke 1,000 times doesn't mean everyone else has. So
Which is why, sorry, you continue.
No, go. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, which is why there's still value in those channels. It's just those specific people have kind of cornered the market, so to speak, which is not a bad thing, because like I just saw Drinker and Gary from Nerdrotic on Piers Morgan the other day.
Yeah,
Morgan.
I heard that. That was pretty
And
cool
they're just
thing.
like openly talking about everything we all know, and it's like, okay, there's some stuff happening here. This is pretty great, you know, like forcing Disney to acknowledge it, like right there in front of like the entire world. You know? It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and plus
that doesn't mean like everybody should run out and start like a new channel like that and try and get on, because you can just go watch FNT. But go on.
Well, there's also probably a little bit of like, oh, now the normies are catching on, and we aren't the normies, so we're kind of like, you guys are just coming across school now.
Normieville.
Yeah.
I have a question in regards to all this. Like, we're talking about like what we're tired of everybody only criticizing the mainstream, which is part of why we're part of the Iron Age. We're trying to create something to fill the gaps, trying to create the culture, so to say. What do you think is missing? Like what should we be pushing for, like, as a group of people in this age? Like, what are some things that we're missing? I know a few off the top of my head. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say.
Well, you shoot, because question popped out of nowhere, nothing pops in my head right away.
I've mentioned it before, but most of the people who claim like the highest status of Iron Age, even though it's not a group, it's a moniker, are men. Most of them. Not all, but most.
Yeah.
And most audiobook listeners are men. But there are hardly any Iron Age authors who are also doing audiobooks. I know of like AC, you count, but yours isn't done yet. So
it's in progress. So I don't count. Yeah.
Herman. What's Brian as well. McCoppin. There we go.
Well, I can tell you why that's the thing. Is with the Iron Age people, resources are very limited, or tend to be, right? And it costs money or it takes time, and we all have 9-to-5 jobs, or or something, or whatever
in our spare time.
So it's not really feasible for everyone. Writing a book, getting an hour a day, that's feasible. And I hate to bring this up, but like then you got AI that comes into the topic again, because AI narration is a thing, but they're especially in the indie world, they hate AI. And I get it, but like
why do you think that is? Why do you think the people in this kind of indie Iron Age space hate AI so much? I make very limited use of it for one very specific thing, but nothing else. Why do you think it is that most people in this space don't like it very much?
Yeah, I don't think everybody has a complete understanding of how it works, and I think people look at it as copying. For the most part, and copying is not something somebody's willing to go through. I think that's the biggest reasons.
I think there's a little gatekeeping too. Whenever there's a surge of technology, historically we always see some gatekeepers. So they'll take a good idea, like, hey, you shouldn't use that because it's stealing and it's copying and it's bad. But their intentions are not for the right reasons. It's because they're a very talented artist that makes a lot of money, and they don't want people to have free access to bottom level stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'll use it as placeholder. I still pay artists for my comic. Like I have plans for all my book covers. They're all
you've used it for Spirit Animals, but Spirit Animals
free.
is also free. And we're not wealthy individuals. I understand it. I think a big part of it is that one of the biggest things we have to give that the mainstream doesn't is authenticity.
Yeah.
And very few things come across as inauthentic as AI in general.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can use AI though and put enough of yourself into the tool. And that comes with like, merging images together, digital artist. And that's why I always think whenever you have the AI discussion, you have to also be talking about digital artists, because if you don't have a problem with digital artists, then why do you have a problem with AI? Because it's digital artists use a library of assets that they didn't make.
Which are sold by artists is what the argument would be, like, oh, an artist did make that and they're selling it though. But it's like, okay, but at the same time,
I think it depends. I think it depends. Like, there's different kinds of levels of digital art as well. There are those who use 2D and 3D assets and just copy and paste and move them around and then add their own details afterwards. And there are those who will just look at references and then draw things themselves and
which is awesome.
Try to be a real creator. Like Animated Moon, I think he might even be streaming at the same time. He doesn't copy paste anything. He does his research. He looks at references, but he's a really phenomenal artist. So
I grew up with a traditional artist. Shout outs to Anthony Letourneau. That was his name. He's gotten to be a bigger name since I was a kid. He did all the art for a board game. I'll mention it next stream next week. I'll bring it up again for people who are curious. It's a really cool board game, by the way. It's like D&D, but like all in a board game and actually doable. Yeah. All kinds of like portrait art and stuff that he did. Just fantastic stuff. But I used to watch. He has paintings all over his house of all of his kids in all these different scenes doing beautiful things, and it's just the most inspiring thing. And I got to sit there and watch him with his like little Mac monitors doing it with the pad back in like 2008, 2007.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
Yeah. I remember him talking about the smartphone when it first came out because they were like Team Apple. But I digress. So I know what you mean by like the traditional artists. There's just something special about it. Like there's magic in those paintings of his children.
It's like even good AI art, I can almost always tell.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh, yeah.
Also, Bonter, he brings up a good point. His main point is, please don't be a hypocrite, is my attitude. Because, some of the people who are criticizing AI are also copying and, stealing other people's work as well. And that, like, don't do that. It's just... Like,
that would be the intent I mentioned, like those gatekeepers. Maybe that's the wrong term, but like that human intent where they're like, I have like this monetary incentive. So if I discourage other people while I continue to copy and do...
Yeah.
Then I have an edge.
People don't know how common it is tracing and everything. Yeah, and whether it's a whole piece of art they're tracing, it's not usually that. Usually it's they're tracing more how they think AI works, where it's like AI is kind of more, in a sense, original on their work. Whereas people like essentially collage their tracing together. So that's a common thing that's done. A lot of people don't notice it. I mean, I read all of Gantz, and I was like, I have my opinions about the story, but I was like, holy crap, this is a good, or this art is amazing. And then it wasn't until like this year I found out that good, almost all of it was like traced. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. So does it take away? I'm like, no. I mean, it's a manga. It lowers
my respect for the artist. But it doesn't.
Well, yeah, I don't have an appreciation for the skill. I'm like, it takes away the skill, but the art is used to tell a story, right? Yeah. And as long as the manga and the art is telling a story, then that's the important part. Now I wouldn't hold that artist up being like, wow, he's skillful. And it's not like he was hiding this fact. I just didn't know it. Yeah. So
the term "think smarter, not harder" comes to mind, and this whole thing kind of just it leads me back to the whole conversation about assets. So when you think about traditional artists, like you said, tracing, right? They're reusing assets. So like that's how you get consistency throughout an entire piece. And this works with writing a novel too. Like you need to make a note somewhere so you can remember things about your characters, right? These assets are kind of like little notes. So like these manga artists can sit here in their downtime and draw faces of like Edward Elric, every different type of facial expression of Edward Elric. And then when she goes to make
Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, then when she goes to make Full Metal Alchemist, she has all these references, different angles, different facial expressions, and she can just boop, boop, as needed. You know what I mean? And it's already half done. Change whatever she needs and then move on. And it's consistent. I would say that's the argument personally I would make.
Yeah. Her art's nothing special, but it tells the story well.
It's not mind-blowing, but she does certain things really, really well, in my opinion.
She invented something too. It's the oversimplified cartoony facial expressions. Like, now I'm not talking about just a little. I mean, like when all the detail of the page is just gone and they have the stupid look on their face and they're just like for like a second.
Yeah.
She actually like that's her thing. You know what I mean?
I guess I would say it's not very like, I'm being careful. I mean, I like the art. It's just like skillful, right? Like it doesn't take a high level of skill, I say, to do that. But the thing is, the important part is it tells the story. Yeah. And that's what I care about with the art. So, I mean, dude, if it looks good, if somebody just took freaking like little stick figures and it told the story well, I don't care. Like that.
I've seen
for me, it doesn't have to be what people. I don't care what people consider good. I have to enjoy the art, and it has to incorporate well. Because when you make it a comic or a manga, the storytelling is not all in the words or in the story. It's also in the visuals. So if the visuals don't do it for me, it's going to be tough to enjoy the story as well. Either that or the story has to be very, very good.
Well, then you get Hunter x Hunter. you ever read Hunter x Hunter?
I have.
It's a book.
But before he masters it, so to say, it's some little rough. Even some of his finished work, I'm like, really? Are you sure? They're like, you're really done? Yeah. Are you positive?
My back hurts. Back off. I mean, that is more of a book, but again, he's able to skip some of the words with his drawings, as bad as they are. So that's one where the story, I don't care how bad the art is. I'm like, the story is the story.
You want better art? Watch the anime. It's better. The art is better.
Yeah.
Also,
you got to go past that.
I think that like my closing thought on the whole AI thing. Not to say that we're done with it, but like my final kind of thought with it is, whenever I see people use it, or I'm tempted to use it for something, or I choose not to, I take a very Michael Jackson approach to it. Basically, like, be the change you want to see in the world. Do I want to live in a world where people are replacing effort and art and writing with AI, and to what degree? And then that's kind of the way that I approach it for the most part.
I mean, I think I'm
not going to knock people who use it, but that's just, I'm going to try to live out my own ideal that way.
You do bring up a big concern, right? Is it going to take away people's jobs, right? From my own personal experience, I mean, you've noticed I use AI especially for thumbnails, which I think is completely guilt-free, because otherwise people are literally just copying images from Google. Like,
you can't even enlarge thumbnails. You can't even enlarge them. So like, what is it?
But
want me to share that, AC?
For making comic purposes,
whenever you're ready, doesn't matter.
Doing some of the art just for maybe reference, not like to actually put in a panel or something like that. It does make me want to draw more. So maybe not everybody's like me, but I have seen that with some people, is that they want to work on their artistic ability because it can help them use that AI tool and kind of like mend the things together and maybe get quicker work. And another point I like to bring up with the use of AI is it's potentially going to help with animation when it comes to anime. And like, that's kind of a morally really good thing, because those people are abused to shit.
They are. The mangaka are as well. It's an inevitable thing. It's like it's like the ball's already rolling down the hill. But there is a part of me that does. It's very sad by that a little bit.
Well, it can help replace CGI.
I'm not criticizing people who use it. That's just kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Well, the government has their career counselors teach, and I know this for a fact. This is not anecdotal. This is fact. I talked to a career counselor. Okay. So she encouraged me. She taught me how. Okay, I didn't tell her I already knew, but she taught me how to use ChatGPT to write resumes and stuff, which is just a stone's throw away from everything else involved with ChatGPT. And
how many commercials have you guys seen for have AI do your homework for you, kids? Like,
yeah,
I'm not.
Totally against AI doing schoolwork or anything like that, or specifically for
that's
for something
that's
like
weird.
homework.
That's weird. That's weird.
Why?
Right here
a little
on StreamYard.
not like that professional work. It's okay to use it sometimes, but then for children doing homework, it's not okay.
Yeah,
it's because they're not doing the work. I think.
Right.
I don't know. I have to think about.
Well, because it's. I mean, you're like, especially to write like a paragraph to summarize a story, like you obviously are not reading the words over in the story, but you just had a computer do it for you, right?
Well, like what was it for us back in the day? It was like don't use Spark Notes or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Which you could use it for research purposes. I have no problem with that. I mean, look, if you're using Google Chrome to search things, guess what? You're using AI. So like by using ChatGPT for research purposes, you're just using a better Google without being tainted by ads.
Also, Boncher brings up a good point here as well. Natural art value will increase as AI increases, just like practical effects are viewed as superior to CGI. But how many movies use CGI as opposed to practical now?
People freaked out when Mandalorian did it. They were like, practical. Hell yeah. Everybody loved it. Yeah.
Well, also it's like, it's a funny thing too, because with the practical and CGI effects, but no, there's still an appreciation for it. It's just currently it's way easier for them to use CGI because they could do everything in post, whereas in like practical, they'll have to plan things out. And they don't want to spend the time or money to necessarily do that. So, I think people do have an appreciation for that. Sorry.
Right. No, you're good.
I think there's one way to really, like in regards to students, and that is have them do their assignments in class.
Yeah.
By hand.
No homework.
That might happen. They might get rid of homework because
that seems like the only real way to really solve the problem. Because once they're gone, there's no accountability to say they can't do it.
Yeah. Why was it allowed? Why was it even allowed to begin with? It's like go here 7 hours and then take 2 hours of homework home. And then make sure you get enough sleep.
Also, be ashamed if you have no time for sports and extracurriculars, or God forbid, a job.
Social life.
At my school, they told us, "Do not get a job. Your schooling is more important."
Yeah,
that is dumb, man. That's some common shit.
I looked my teacher in the eye. Nice guy too. F off. That's what it is.
For real.
I guess my closing point with AI will be, for right now, I think it's completely morally okay to use it for narration. I did it for my own book, right? And I'm not charging anything. Now I say that because it's nowhere near as good as an actual narrator. Nowhere near. It's better than some, because there's some really bad narrators out there. But
I'm one of them.
but like it's essentially to me it's glorified text to speech. It's decent.
It's come a long way. The AI narrators are not that bad, despite them not being very, very good either.
Well, a lot of these same critics will go right on TikTok and post a viral video with AI narration. Like
they'll have an AI script, narrated by AI with AI images. I'm like, where's the creative process?
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird.
It's so common. I see it all the time. It's
dead internet theory. Have you heard of it?
Especially, it's always like YouTube Shorts too, because they're just short enough to not let people think about it. Then you move on.
It's throwaway. Yeah, it's like it's a minute of content. So like when you spend hours editing a minute of content, it doesn't feel worth it. You need 10 million views to make $100.
Yes,
you need millions. You need millions to make hundreds.
Oh, it's shorts. I make shorts because they're fun. I don't make them with any expectation of anything else.
People should be embracing the the narration part, at least for now, because I don't think it's taking any jobs. Because like once, like for my book, once I have the money to do an actual narration, I'm going to pay a narrator to do it, even with my having an AI one, because the narrator is going to be a better performance. They can't. It's just going to read the sentences. It doesn't understand the tone or anything of it. Like I said, it's glorified text to speech, and it makes it bearable. But for me, I could. If somebody, doesn't have money.
All three of us, we have something in common. We all listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah.
And so, like a bad narrator will detract from a story. A competent one will simply deliver the story, no complaints, but not a lot of praise. But a really good narrator will elevate your listening/reading experience.
Yeah,
a lot sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
So
looking at you, Dotrice. But
he's dead, so probably not. But
yeah, definitely not looking at him. Probably don't want to either right now. Probably.
He's but no, that's something I'm really passionate about too. That's why by the end of the year I want to have my studio, my sound stuff set up, so I can help people start getting at least samples of their books into an audio format. I think that's something that would add value to people.
You nailed it, because that's actually a goal over here on my end too. When I was working on First Strike for Iron Age Media
magazine.
Yep. Tempered Records. Shout outs.
Dude, I think I even have it, but I can't. Our mailbox is broken. I can't open it.
Oh, damn.
Very disappointing.
But when I was working on that, I was sitting there because I had an old buddy of mine from back when I was doing music hit me up. He's like, "Hey, I'm a voice actor now. Can I do your book?" When he found out I first published Mortal Descent. And I'm like, yeah. So while he was working on that, I've been like working on spirit animals and stuff. And then also First Strike. When I was doing First Strike, I did a lot of my own tracking with like the sound and stuff. I was forced to learn how to do stuff. And basically I kind of realized that to make a simple audiobook, at least, it's not that hard. Like it's way easier than making a song, and I've made over 20 songs in my life. You know what I mean?
I'm going to be picking your brain, because my second book, when it comes out, I'm going to be doing the audio for it, because that's something I can't get anyone else to narrate. Or sound.
I'd say Kahuna has like it's very interesting minding Kahuna's paths with this, because it's like I very much just jumped straight into it raw, and Kahuna is kind of getting a lot of really interesting and helpful tools. Like your voice changer is awesome. Like you're learning a lot of stuff. You're diving into a different field, and I would say you're a far more talented voice actor than myself.
Your voice is much. You're
Does somebody say something about a voice changer?
Oh, crap out of me. But no, like I worked, like one that I worked really hard on was for John A. Douglas, because I was wanting to put together something for his first chapter, or at least like for when I did a live reading on his episode of Iron Age Legends, and that was I got the 3 voices for the 3 orc brother, their voices correct, and so like with the voice modulation, just like with the one, it's like basically talk out of one side of your mouth. It's like, Kranich, my magic cannot do this. And then you got the biggest one. He's like, then what use are you? And then you have the oldest. Enough. They brought all of their armies against us.
Sounds scary to me.
Going through it was fun, just because like the leader is more breathy, less growly. The biggest brother, the asshole, is very growly and very traditional oracle. Whoa, you son of a bitch!
My fucking god! With this
and I would say like that's something I absolutely cannot do.
Guest appearance.
Yeah. I would say that's something I absolutely can't do with the voice changer, though. Like, I literally could never make my voice that low or even sound that orcish. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's like, that's what kind of like what I'm talking about. Like the tools you've invested in are very good investments. And, once you just
I just need to learn how to use the basic ones,
and it's gonna explode. Autobots roll out. What?
You cut out. You muted yourself, dude.
muted, yeah.
Damn.
Bro, you're muted. Yo, oh, he's talking to the wife.
Yeah.
What does she sound like, right? Well, wait. Let's voice Katie real quick.
All right.
Get off there, we have a take care of the
Oh my goodness. Oh, look at that hottie on the PC. Oh my goodness. Get over here, big boy. Come on.
On that note, I think we should share some art that I was going to share here.
Yes. You have it ready to share. Oh, what did I just do to my computer? Ooh. Actually, wait, Battsauce. You
What's up?
Test your powers. Add his thing to the stage if you can.
Test my add to stage. Boom.
Beneath the trees where nobody sees.
So I sent this comic to Evely. Sorry, Mr. Lee. I just thought of this when we were talking about art earlier, because I'm pretty sure this is all traditionally done, and it's very.
I was gonna say, is this a kid story?
It's very awesome.
It's cool. Oh, dude, that's an awesome cover.
Blood.
Yeah, it keeps going. Check this out.
Well, who's this?
Oh, that's cool.
No, this is one my little brother sent me.
Oh, no way.
Because he knows I'm dealing with comics and stuff. So this is
these words don't.
Yeah, these words don't actually say anything, but then they cleverly have words that do say stuff around it to make it look like a. Yeah. So yeah, it basically, I'll skim through this here, but basically it's the story of Dexter Morgan.
Oh.
But yeah. But through the eyes of this cuddly little anthropomorphized old lady bear. She has old people friends. They're all really wholesome. Oh, look. Huh?
Royce?
What? Yeah, right.
Royce.
All these you can see Birdie here doesn't remember that he even bought a newspaper once or earlier that day, And then you can see she's got hobbies, and it keeps going. And it almost seems like a nothing burger, but then you saw the cover. You saw the cover, so you know something's going to happen.
The cover has a promise. Let's see if it's
shock value.
Yeah. Well, but this is done in a good way.
Not bad thing, yeah.
Pardon me, Charlie. Have you seen my glasses?
Exactly. So check this out. It keeps going. She's got. If my computer will keep up here. Oh yeah, Charlie. Kids. They carefully stuff kids into so many frames of this. They put kids around the psychopath the whole time because they know it'll make us.
Look at her face right there. She ain't right. Look at her face.
Yeah. They show
that boy
middle finger there too.
At the end, they actually witness something at the end of the comic, and yeah, here's that face again. You can tell something's not right. It just notice how they still haven't pulled the rug out yet. They're not afraid to build up, unlike other shock values. So yeah, it keeps going. Oh yeah, there's the.
Mr. Quackers.
So right here. See right here. This is the change.
Oh no!
These two panels. Here. Yeah, you see that? And then
I'm so glad you walked by when you did.
And then he opens the Dexter bag up. He's like, "What?" And then it's too late. Like the red in the background.
It's okay.
It's okay. Everything goes black. Yeah. So
I'll put it on your bill.
Yeah. But you can just tell it's hand. You can tell it's hand drawn and shit.
Oh yeah, so. It's like it's not groundbreaking, but it's good. Yeah. It's solid. There's a style, and it sticks with it the whole way through.
Yeah, and definitely. after that hook event where she goes all Dexter and goes through that, the comic, you turn the next page and it's just back to the way it was because she's just pretending to kind of be a person in society. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of. I don't know. I haven't seen a comic like that. I figured somebody would make something like that. But
night.
Yeah. I have to shout out my brother for that.
Hell yeah. No, it's a good story.
Really bare bones kind of story.
It looks like a good story.
Thank you, animation. What would we do without you?
Right. Yeah. I will mention. I mentioned it last week. A story that I reviewed. I enjoyed. The Tome of the Reckoning. Book 3 is available now to purchase.
I've been aware of it. I haven't started it. Oh, Xander, hi, buddy.
Hey.
Oh, poor guy.
Guest appearance.
He's having a hard time. Look at he's such a skinny little kid. It's so cute.
Yeah.
My kids were never skinny ever.
My kid is. I mean, I was a skinny kid. My kid's fat as hell.
That's a healthy baby. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's see. Tome of the
He just woke up from his nap, so I had to get up.
No worries, brother. I know you have stuff to do tonight too. But yeah, no, even on our STS stream the other day, I was talking to Alicia about Lore Olympus and all that jazz, and it's like there's so many great stories out there. Even stuff where, like, Lore Olympus is a good example of when someone has a different belief system than I, but they still know how to tell a good story. That's what they did here. Because it's not all about the politics and all that nonsense. It's like it's there, but it's not what the story is about. It's a love story. It's a like kind of not enemies to lovers, but more like unlikely, like two people from two different worlds kind of love story.
Yeah.
Romeo and Juliet.
No, it's based off of not Zeus, Hades, and Persephone. It's a retelling of the Greek love story between them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a fun story.
Okay.
That's a question. Yeah. How do you guys feel about genres that we participate in and enjoy most of the time, like fantasy and sci-fi? How do you guys feel about love stories in those genres? Like, it's not usually the focus, but it will sometimes show up.
My instinctual reaction to that is no, get it out. I hate love stories, but it's like it usually gets tied into stories, and it enhances the story. So it's more about a balance of having that love story in there, and if it's the correct story, like some stories should not be in there, right?
Well, it's also how much focus are they going to put into that as well. Like in the Harry Potter books, I think it's okay because it's like it's never the main focus of the story, and plus they're like it's teenager love story. It's different from
it does enhance, right? So like Avatar: The Last Airbender, the love story in that very much enhanced the story because a big part of Aang's journey was in order to master the Avatar state, he had to let go of all of his what's it called?
You must let go of your earthly attachments.
Earthly attachments. So that meant he had to let go of the person that he loved, which was made a love story, very interesting. Then you take Korra, and the love stories in there contribute nothing, and they're just annoying.
She might as well have just grabbed the entire crew and said, "Line up. The order doesn't matter. I'll get to all of you eventually."
Just every time there was anything to do with a relationship in there, it was really annoying, and it actually contributed very negatively to like her as a character. I was like, get it out. If it's not contributing to the theme or story, get it out.
Well, like it would have been like, say like all the weird relationship drama had just been season 1 and that was it. Mm-hmm. We would have been like, oh, that was kind of dumb, but at least it's over. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So I've been rewatching it.
It wasn't over.
I've been rewatching it so I can, if we do debate it again.
I need to rewatch it too.
So I'm on season 3 again.
The best, easily the best season of Korra, not even close.
Yeah, I don't know about that, man. Season 2 was just absolute trash. Season 1 was okay. There was definitely some.
I like season 1. Season 2 has a lot of problems.
Season
2 is a problem.
Yeah. But what I've noticed, the overall biggest problem with the Korra thing was just the complete change of the power system. It's completely different. In Last Airbender, it's a skill you have to train. In Korra, it is hereditary. You are a good bender because you are, relatively good bender.
The ability to bend is hereditary.
Season 1 good to the end.
Yeah. Like the ability to bend is like how good you are bending. That comes down to skill.
No, it is hereditary. I agree. That's the rules in Last Airbender. If you can metal bend, it's like depending on who your parents are. Specifically the lava bending, because Bo, whatever his name is, his mother was a firebender and dad was an earthbender, so that's why he has lava bending. Also, the lightning bending. The dude Mako goes to a factory with a bunch of other lightning benders.
I know, yeah.
Like what? Like
well,
it's
the case like where people can do it now, but that doesn't mean they're all masters of it.
No,
wait. No. We will save it. We will fight this out. We will get a whole group of us together. It'll be Royce and I, and
we
then,
need to get Royce in there.
Oh, dude, it's good. And Bolin, he's the best. He's one of my favorite characters that was original from Korra.
He's sidelined.
He's
could have
fun,
been cool.
and he's quirky, and he's a good dude, which is better than I can say for some of the other characters.
Yeah. But man, has problems. What were we talking about before? Oh, love stories. So I'll mention, I'm going to plug even though it's kind of probably far from release. My story, I ended up putting a love story into that. Not my sci-fi. I have no love story in that. In my fantasy one, because a big theme of my story is sloth. And not being
like
lazy.
That's seven deadlies. That's sin. Yeah.
So, and I feel like that's one that's not used very often. And I like to be a little different.
I do have a theory as to why it's not used very often, but I'd love to hear why you used it.
Because people only really look at sloth as being lazy, when a big aspect of sloth is, was it indecision or something like that? Like,
not being indecisive. Yeah.
Indecisive. Yeah. Like not making a decision when you should. And so that's kind of what I attributed to my main character in this story, is that he has a problem, busting a move, right? When it comes to like things in his life. Now, there's also this thing where everybody calls him lazy, but that's not really true. He's not lazy. He has a trouble making decisions. Now, there's
He's
this
indecisive, and he needs to think things through, kind of character.
Oh, he thinks it through like way too hard. I have one chapter, because the character is the flower shop girl. It's a really hot like girl that he's like, oh my god, I'm really into it, right? And so this whole chapter,
hot mama.
Anyway,
so there's a whole chapter. Basically, it's something about if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so he's troubleshooting an issue, because in this he fixes magical tools. So somebody designed something new and it's now worse. So he's fixing that. At the same time, he keeps on going around the office trying to ask all the people, being like, hey, what's the best way to ask this girl out? Like, I gotta come up with
instead of just shooting his shot. Yeah.
Right. And somebody even says like, dude, just go up and just ask her. And he's like, no. I got to make sure no isn't an option. And so
I'm sure you had guys in the military who started out that way and either had it beat out of them or they quit.
100%. It's one of the best things is watching somebody come out of the shell in the military, because it's a very common thing.
Yes.
But yeah, no, so eventually, like, he does ask her in the way that he came up with. All right, AC, and in case you don't come back, he's a little busy. So, because the implications shove you. So, because he asks her out the way he thinks is foolproof, she doesn't even understand that he's asking her out, and she just thinks that he's offering to help, and she's like, "Oh, sure." And so then in the next chapter, he has to go on this crazy quest because he couldn't just ask her out. He had to go a real roundabout way.
He has his own like Scott Pilgrim versus the world kind of thing that he has to do.
I think what's the exact reference from Scott Pilgrim?
Getting the girl is no longer just a simple thing. Like, he has to complete a task or do something somewhat outrageous.
Well, he has to do this very dangerous job to get this this magical plant, because he basically offered to do it, thinking that he'd be going on a date, and then she's just, you're offering? Yeah, here you go, do this. And he's like, no idea what he's getting into. It's a really dangerous plant.
It was not properly discussed the level of difficulty that would be associated with this task. Yeah.
Well, he just wanted to make sure that she couldn't say no, but like she didn't say no, but she also didn't understand that he was asking her out, and now he's on he's doing a random task that could potentially kill him.
I have something that I was thinking about, like on the topic of love and stories in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's harder to do romance in books than it is in a movie or a TV show, because there's a lot you can imply in that kind of relationship, or like that potential relationship with acting and with more visual cues. It's harder to put that into the written word, I think, without it getting bogged down into that kind of thing. What do you think?
I mean, it's probably with anything, right? Like having a visual representation as a tool, facial expressions, that makes it easier. I mean, I think showing relationships in general too, even friendships, you're trying to draw a picture with words, and that's a challenge. I think probably relationships is one of the most difficult things to kind of come off naturally too.
Like, let's look at an example I think works. Navani and Dalinar from Stormlight. It's not the focus of the story, but it's something. It's a B plot for his character specifically and her character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's overdone. I don't think it was too heavy a hand. It was something pertinent. It was something that built character and added character depth for both of them, and it helped them grow going forward in the story. So in a book like that, I don't mind it. A book like Wheel of Time,
I'm not a wheel timer. I read the first book and a half.
It does get pretty good, but
that's what I hear. It's like everybody says the third book is like where it starts to get good. I'm like,
I liked it enough in book 1 and book 2. Yeah.
Well, there was aspects of Wheel of Time in the first book that I really liked. I thought them like falling asleep and being taunted in their dreams was awesome. And
I love like spiritual warfare stuff put into books properly. Honestly,
somehow missing from the damn show.
We're just ignore the show.
It's dangerous territory.
I'm going through it for the first time right now. I've read 3 books. Oh yeah, no, there's one clever thing that he did that pissed me off because I didn't figure it out. I didn't put it together for like a week. It's like, oh, the sword of Kalandor. They've been talking about it for a while. It's like, it's the sword that Rand Thor must wield. And it's like, oh, wow, that's really cool. It's just another magical sword thing. But they're really hyping it up. It makes sense. It's like, where is it? Oh, it's in Tyr. It's like, cool. Where in Tyr? In a castle. What's the castle called? The Stone. It's the sword in the stone! F!
2 on the nose. Animation overload, yes. He said by that logic would translate more easily to comic format. Yeah. It's another tool that you don't have in books. And again, that goes into my like digestibility topic about how like
say.
I couldn't talk till I was 4, man.
I'm not making fun of you. I have listening problems and all that.
I know, but that's the lore behind the short bus, man.
It's fantastic, though, man. But, a book that isn't a romance book that has good romance is a little bit of a rarity. I don't know.
Well, hopefully, I break that.
I'd love to see you do it because it's. Sounds more like a skit. She is sassy, bro. She's sassy as F. It's great.
What's it called? It made me lose my train of thought. Damn it. No. Like I said, it's.
Oh, he's back.
I do agree, though. I generally speaking, love stories, they don't help the story, and I'm like, get it the hell out of there. Is he back?
I guess it depends too, because sometimes you have stories that use a setting, but it's not a traditional story from that. Like, The Princess Bride. That is not a fantasy story with a romance. That is a romance story that's just using a fantasy characters
elements
and settings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of the way. I don't know. I keep on every now and again I dip into the romance genre, and it's mostly bad. Like I really enjoy Outlander, but a lot of it's just not very good. I think it's because most romance books are written for women specifically. That's not a knock on women, but men and women, I think, want different things. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, well, I guess yes and no. I don't know.
Careful, your wife's here.
we agree on a lot of this stuff. But Yu Yu Hakusho, are you familiar with it?
I haven't seen it. I am aware of it. I'm a little. I know some about it. Yeah.
You 100% need to watch it when you can.
I've been told. I've been told
it is my favorite shonen anime. He's the same guy who did Hunter x Hunter, right? He did that before, and so the thing is like when you look into that, why is that show so good? It's because you got these four main characters, and the relationship between those characters are so damn strong. And you're like, man, how did this writer write these relationships so well? Well, he wrote romance before he did this. Yu Yu Hakusho was his first action one, and he learned how to write relationships from doing romance first.
It's funny when a mangaka switches genres. Like the guy who did, Haikyuu, the show or the manga. It's a sports anime about boys, like high school boys volleyball. One of my favorite shows. I really, really enjoy that show. I think it has some brilliant storytelling. But the mangaka was a horror mangaka first, so every now and again they'll have a frame. I'm like, those are not shonen faces; those are horror faces.
Well, isn't the basketball one done by?
There's Slam Dunk and there's Kuri Kuri no Basket.
I think it's Slam Dunk, but the one it's done by Vagabond.
That's Slam Dunk, same guy.
Yeah.
Very, very like Slam Dunk is a very, very popular manga. I have not touched it yet. But yeah, no, that's the thing too. Like, if we're talking about anime, like sports anime, you have you're spoiled. You can either have one where it's like they have superpowers basically, or ones that are just a little more grounded. Like Haikyuu is more of that, and then you have Hajime no Ippo. It's a boxing anime, and one of the longest running manga of all time. Even longer than like One Piece. It's insane. It's very, very good.
Yeah. I typically keep all my entertainment as something to do with magical powers.
Oh, Seabass your wife brings up a good point. Outlander loses me when it tried to have you believe that every man she comes across tries to. I like it's more noticeable in the earlier books, and it does
manslander
every now and a little bit.
I mean that's kind of common. I don't know if Outlander's written by a woman too, but I mean it's kind of the problem we're running with the mainstream is it's not that they're strong females necessarily. I mean they're strong females with zero personality or character, but it's the manslander. It's they're taking down men to bring women up, and that's
I think with her specifically, I don't think she hates men. Yeah. She doesn't write men in a way that makes me believe that. I think what it is that she needs to have conflict, and because she knows that women generally don't fight in war, the conflict had to be of a different nature. So, it's your life and what is most precious to you, like your sexual choice and freedom, so to say, and safety. As a woman in that time period is probably going to be one of the most hard to protect things. And
that's an interesting point. Yeah.
I haven't really formulated all my thoughts on it, but that's just my impression. I enjoy the show and I do like the books, but the books are very good, but they are thick. They kind of drain me mentally when I read them.
Thick.
Damn, boss, she's thick. Wait, it's not working. Karaoke.
Damn, boy, you're thick. The damn girl. Music, can you hear that?
That is an interesting point, though. If it does have to, I mean, because men fight war historically, and every single nation, damn near, it's always men. So yeah, I would see that was a writing problem to you would run into a different problem just trying to have women in the military, because then you kind of have to like explain why that is.
Yeah, it's like she has physical conflict with people sometimes, but it like she doesn't write women as these superheroes, which is a nice change of pace from the modern day, at least in those style of stories.
Yeah.
Well, I can't contribute to all of these fandoms, so I'll check y'all later. I need to blow up some stompy mechs. Hey, Boncher, you could play Helldivers like a real man.
Hey, there is mechs in Dawn Edge, Plan of Babel, Dawn Edge, written by Joseph and Caroline Battaglia.
That's sweet. I like me a good stompy
free.
robot. I love me a good stompy robot.
Yeah. Chick, everybody, was it? You ever see MXLR8?
What?
On Cartoon Network back in the day? They had the whole song like, chicks dig giant robots.
I remember that phrase, but I don't think I ever watched that. I didn't have cable growing up. Everything I watched was either at my friend's house occasionally, or we would rent it. So like I grew up watching like 10, 15-year-old versions of Power Rangers and like a bunch of these. Yeah.
All right, so you want to talk about the Patrick Rothfuss, George R.R. Martin topic?
Oh, we bring them up because they're two of the most prominent bookish examples of this. That's basically not finishing your story.
Yeah.
And what we all think about that. And some, like in the case of books, it's pretty much the author's fault for the most part.
Yeah.
In stuff like TV shows and movies or maybe some mangaka, there's other contributing factors that
I would keep it to just the books, because you're completely right. There's so many different reasons a show cannot continue. Toy sales, Teen Titans, bullshit.
Or Firefly. I'm glad it didn't go on for 9 seasons, but I would have liked like 3.
Yeah, at least, right? No, but so essentially, like the argument for Patrick and George is, well, it's their books. You don't get to dictate how long somebody takes with their book. And I'm like, yeah, but that's kind of disrespectful to the fans, because they took the time. They took time out of their day. They took money out of their wallet and contributed to you.
They invested and became invested in the story.
Invested. And the bare minimum you could do, even if it's a long time, is just finish the darn story. It's not a big ask. And for people, like, and for them, millions of people that contributed a lot. It could, like, what are we averaging? Like 20 hours to finish like each of their like stories? Probably a lot more.
It depends. If it's an R.R. Martin book, it's probably longer.
It's a lot longer, right? Yeah. So it's like you're contributing all that time.
AC, you're muted, by the way. You can unmute if you're able to talk. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, good. Okay.
Book 6 is not coming, Alicia. It's just not. I theorized that years ago.
I don't think we're getting. I think I have a theory that George actually has the book and he will never release it. I think Rothfuss
that's a good theory.
Hasn't done it.
No, he hasn't done it. I mean, do you know the drama between Patrick with Patrick Rothfuss? It's pretty sleazy.
I've heard stuff about him. Yeah. I have a question though in regards to this whole thing. Does them not finishing the story make your enjoy? Like, does it mean you don't enjoy the journey that you've taken so far with these stories? Them not finishing.
I don't know. That is an interesting point, but because a big part of the enjoyment is like wondering where it's going to take you, and
there's enjoyment
being excited.
Yeah.
Right. Well, being excited for where the story is going to go. Right. But then that itch never gets scratched, essentially.
I will say, at least with Rothfuss, he kind of warned us in the foreword for his first book. He said, this is the most important lesson I ever learned from my father. If you're going to make something great, take your time. I should have known.
Well, yeah, but I mean, did you hear about the whole charity thing?
How he was like embezzling kind of stuff, or
he promised a bunch of money, and the promise was he would read the first chapter of the next book, and this was years ago. So he probably to get that money raised, and he like
I'm
never
gonna look
did
up
it.
when that was just for my own. I forgot when the last book was released, so hold on.
And it was just like a year or two later after that whole funding debacle, people being like, "Yo, dude, you said you were going to do it." He was supposed to do it on that stream. Again, people contributing a crap ton of money, and he didn't. And then, like a year or two later, he reads the first chapter, and it's like a page of just like describing a well, and everybody's like, "Fuck you." Yeah, it was a big insult.
Also, for reference, A Wise Man's Fear, the second main book in the series, not including his novella stuff, was released in March 1st, 2011.
Yeah.
Holy sweet.
Dude, you can write a word a day and you'd be done.
I think it is a really shifty, bad thing to do. Let's look at some examples of people who actually have done something about that. Like one who already has and one who has set up to do this. R.H. Snow, Queen of the Iron Age.
Her son, right?
The legend.
Yes. No, she has set things up so that if she shuffles off this mortal coil before she has time to finish, which she writes fast, she probably can finish it. There are two or three people who are going to work together and help get finish that story. What an extraordinary thing to do in light of these people who have ceased to care at this point.
Yeah.
Very disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, again, people invest time, they invest money into you. Like the least you could do is just finish the darn story. I mean,
and then you have some tragic cases. Like I think Robert Jordan is a tragic case. He wasn't one of those writers just taking that 9 years to pulp. No, he was actually trying to finish it, and then he died. Luckily.
Yeah. Well, let me back. I wasn't referring to at least you can finish it if you die. Like, oh no, that's a good excuse for not finishing.
There are no excuses. Write it from the grave.
Yeah, and then George, I will say, in defense of George, though, at least he's writing other stories. But
at least he is.
Yeah. He literally said, like, this was years ago. He said, if I don't have, if I'm not this far, or if I don't have the book done by this date, again, years ago, he said, you have every right to bully me. That date came years ago, and now he's upset that people are bullying him. You literally gave people permission to bully you. And it's so I think you're right. It might be done. My theory has always been that he plans on it being the best story.
He'll either never release it or he will when he dies. He'll arrange for it to happen. I think I don't know. It has to do with the way people perceive Game of Thrones after the show ended, and all of the backlash of
that he wants to die with that being the best unfinished story. And I think thought he was going to pass years ago. And this is my theory years ago. After reading book 4, I told you I read up to book 4. I quit. Mm-hmm. I didn't go to book 5. Book 5 sounds interesting, but I'm sorry. When two things in book 4 just absolutely murdered me. The introduction of the dragon glass candle. I was like, that was pulled so far out of your ass that like this is bullshit. You can't just introduce something that groundbreaking and be like, oh no, the Meisters have been behind it the whole time. Fucking bullshit. Sorry for all my cursing. But then the second thing was the Brianna Tarth story. And
real quick, Andrew says, if George ever releases it, it will never live up to people's expectations. I think that's another aspect of it, but Yeah,
I mean, maybe. I don't know. It's book with his expectations. Like, he's released quite a few bad books. I think book 4 is bad. And so
see, I've read the first 3. I never did book 4 and 5.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So do you mind the spoiler then?
I know everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. You're fine.
So Brianna Tarth, she's like the biggest character in the 4th book, and she's not as good as she is in the show. And she's basically like, her whole story is she's looking for the sisters, and she goes camp to camp. They're always sexist to her. It's the same thing over and over again. I'm like, okay, cool. I need more story now. And the whole time she's looking for the sisters, you as the reader, you know where the sisters are, and you know she's nowhere near them. So
it sounds like a frustrating read.
It's so incredibly boring. And then at the very end, this is the introduction of Lady Stoneheart, which again, it was beautifully written. I will never come like.
I've read that portion. Horrifying and incredible. It's
right.
It's all the Lovecraft's like old like pulpy horror stuff that made fantasy really interesting back in the day.
Right, and he's a really skilled writer. But when he killed Brianna Tarth, he hung her. I was just like, did you really just make me go through this whole story just to kill her at the end? I was livid. And then I get it. I get it in the 5th book she comes back, right? Apparently that's what happens. But I'm like, was that because people complained? And also, it makes me think back to when he criticized Tolkien for bringing back Gandalf. He's like, "Oh, you should keep people dead." And I'm like, "Dude, you don't keep people dead. Besides Stark."
Let us have a moment of silence for our brother who cannot offer his.
Do you guys want to hear crying or dogs barking? You can choose.
I choose both. I'd rather have both. Are you the one crying?
I'm about to be.
It's okay, man. Don't be frustrated.
It's all good, man.
It's how it goes with kids.
We can always talk about George R. R. Martin again another time.
No,
but
this is the only
I know
time.
he's very passionate about Song of Ice and Fire.
Billy Bob is too. He loves we once argued about that for like 3.5 hours.
But I mean, the guy is a talented writer. But with the killing the characters thing, I think the only main character that he really killed and stayed dead was the Ned Stark. That was the only one, because Lady Stark comes back. The oldest son is not a main focus character. They did the son and the Red Wedding way better in the book. Way better.
Huh.
Do you disagree? Yeah, you agree? Yeah. So, first of all,
I appreciate the differences, and I understand why they exist.
Oh, I think it's just so in the show, they introduce the wife early. They let the reader get to know her, and also in this point of the book, you don't hear from the son, so you get to see that the show is giving you this perspective. They make him feel more as a main character, not just like a nobody.
They did make Rob most of the character stuff involving Rob in the book happens from his mother's point of view.
Exactly, and also he's separated from her a lot too.
That too. I have a weird confession.
Sure.
Catelyn Stark, while she spoilers, she doesn't make it. While she was alive, was one of my favorite POV characters.
Same.
Yeah. She was good.
No
she was
way.
Really good.
I'm the only one I know who has said that and been
Lady Stoneheart is badass too, though, and that's where you get book 4 and 5. Yeah.
Well, it's at the very, very end of book 4, but
yeah. So, okay, what I'll say about I'm going to try to catch up here. Okay. Book 5 is one of the best books because it's the opposite of the glass candle thing that you just said. He's finally revealing things that he's been keeping in his back pocket the whole time in book 5, starting with chapter 1, the prologue. He just tells you how green seers work. He tells you how his wizards work. The glass candles are a cop-out, I agree. But that's his, I guess, his grand solution for the
I don't even remember the candles.
The glass candles are how Daenerys is going to become a dragon sorceress by the end of it without actually traveling to the Masters. She's just going to, the Targaryens are all dreamers. It's the ultimate form of dream magic.
The Targaryens are all Melnibonéans.
Yes. And that would be...
And I love it.
What?
Melnibonéans.
Yeah. Have you had
Michael Moorcock, the
Michael Moorcock.
saga.
Yeah. The black swords, the white skin and hair, and red eyes.
The white skin, the weird colored eyes.
Oh, are you talking about Time Machine? No, forget about it. No, when AC, when I hear you talk about book 5, it's crazy the amount of things that they introduced into book 5, and I've heard it from other people, and I'm just kind of like, it's a lot. I don't know. I hear so many good things about book 5. Maybe I should give it a try. I was so upset after book 4. It was so long. It was so boring.
I'm not against reading book 4 and 5. I just there's no rush because there's no
yeah, that's the other part.
End.
I mean, I
have the rest of my life, and there's like, truth be told, I'd love to reread that series. It's been years since I picked up A Song of Ice and Fire again, because those books, like, people make fun of them, like, for like all everybody ever talks about now is like, oh, the theories don't matter because he's never gonna, he'll never finish. But like, I think he originally had a trilogy planned, and then he had more ideas and just tried to continue it, which is maybe why he got so stuck.
Well, and then like he introduces the Targaryens in the South, I remember, and I'm like, why are you introducing more characters?
Because it's an epic fantasy novel, damn it. Also, hail Eric Wag! You are late as usual, but that's okay. A wizard is never late.
Look, he's got
he arrives precisely when he means to.
He's got Totem in his book title, so I'm going to pick that up at some point.
Totem. What
Skull Totem or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I have one of his books physically and have them both on ebook. Yeah, no, he's a really cool guy too. Yeah, no,
I was a shaman main in Warcraft, vanilla. So that's totems are my thing.
My thing,
my thing,
chicken wang.
Yeah, but no. What was I saying about? Oh, the Red Wedding, right? So.
You said you like it a lot more in the book than in the show.
So the wife, right? The wife is not a doctor, not a nurse or whatever. She's not endearing.
I'm curious about your thoughts here.
So they made her very endearing in the show. They made her like a caring person. Yes, she was a noble, but she went out her way to help people that were in need. And you're like, wow.
They actually made her a character.
They made her a character.
She isn't a real character.
Yeah, and they made you a likable character, right? Like that. Those are very admirable qualities. Yeah. Somebody who like gives up their nobility to help people in need.
Good chemistry with the actor, with the acting as well helps. But yeah.
No, I will say George R. I think he might have actually wrote that for the show. Like he said, he did make some fixes.
He did.
Yeah.
He took Tyrion's girlfriend and Rob's girlfriend and basically rewrote them because they were in the books. They're kind of nothing burgers.
Yeah. But the wife, you're introduced to her and her whole family like the day of the Red Wedding, and so like you're like he comes back and you don't have any reference of this woman. She's just a random noble woman. Oh, not just random. She's actually from the same land of the Lannisters. Oh, this can't be trouble. And you're finding out on the same day that like he's breaking this marriage agreement, and he's also getting married to a Lannister. You're like, wow, no way this could go wrong. So, I mean, I knew it was going to go wrong in the Red Wedding in the show, but it was still shocking because it was so well written. It was so much more epic. But in the book, it's so obvious, and you're just like, Rob, you're a fucking idiot.
Which is too like it's really weird too from the book to the show, because in the book he's 15. In the show, ain't no way that man is 15. Like, I know why they did that, because Daenerys is 13, and that starts getting really weird with some of her scenes.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Like, imagine being the 43-year-old, what's that guy's name? I can't remember.
Emily.
Not Evely.
No, he popped up in the chat. Sorry.
And he appears. But no, imagine being the Daenerys' protector who also falls in love with her. Imagine being a 43-year-old dude looking at a 13-year-old girl and be like,
dude, that's the creepy stuff about reading.
How dare you, Battsauce? Emily, if it's not clear, Battsauce has been given ultimate power. I might have to revoke it.
AC can't let
so funny. I wonder what you're doing. Crap.
Dude, I'm like the worst with my shit eating grin. Like, I can't hide it if I'm doing something stupid.
So we were talking about, I heard Red Wedding. So I didn't mean to agree earlier. I think the Red Wedding is It's very well done on the show, but I will not say ever that it's better than the books because it's yet again more bastardization of lore. It's more examples of Dumb and Dumber not knowing what they're doing. Because, for example, they had Rob's pregnant mistress, his wife at the time, basically, actually. At the Red Wedding, she does not die in the book. She's not at the Red Wedding.
No,
she's
she
not
doesn't
that
die in the book,
pregnant. Yeah, she's one of the leftover hanging loose threads that he has in the books right now, and she's actually a POV now. I'm pretty sure. So
what book is she a POV in?
Book 5 must be.
Book 6. He has.
That's right. For some of those chapters he wrote.
Yes.
Yeah, but I like I was saying, Kahuna, I think he wrote the Red Wedding for the show.
He might have. Yeah.
Daenerys is not immortal. She's just a girl with dragon powers.
And fireproof.
And she's also 13 with a 43-year-old bodyguard who falls in love with her.
I actually think the fireproof thing is disproven as well, because how did her brother die?
Well, I guess he didn't inherit it.
That would be a lazy way to explain the world building, but it actually, I think, is more like Daenerys performed a magical alchemical wedding that wedded her with the blood of the dragon. And part of the sacrifice was her husband, part of the sacrifice was her baby, and yes, the witch. All three of them. 3 eggs.
But wasn't she like?
Oh, that's
like
a good
not burnt by the hot water.
I never thought of the 3 and 3.
It's a fact.
See,
it's called the alchemical wedding.
I missed
cool.
that.
That's cool.
I missed the 3x3. That's dang. I'm usually pretty good at catching that, but I'm
kinds of shit.
I'm very happy someone pointed that out.
And I understand your gripe with the 4th book and Brienne, and like, yes, they're very much parading her around and stuff. I agree with that. Did you? Okay, so part of that is role playing. George is role playing. He's showing us things that happened in the past and the future. Herman. Okay.
You son of a gun. Oh.
He's showing us.
No, I like that. Don't get me wrong. I like that. But sorry.
So Brienne is an ancestor of Sir Duncan the Tall, which is the main character of the next show that we're going to see called The Hedge Knight. It's the comic that Mike S. Miller from the on the fringes of the Iron Age.
By the way,
yes, very good story too. It is George Martin.
It's an actual heroic character.
Yeah, it's what? It's fucking great.
By George R. R. Martin. Who knew?
It's for teens too. So it's his Hobbit.
So
I'm all for it, man.
Yeah.
Now, here, let's
say
we should transform this question a little bit. Like,
well,
what can we learn? Like, both from people who have basically failed their fans, in essence, like Rothfuss and George R. R. Martin, and what can we learn from those who have either successfily fulfilled their promises to the fans?
Don't
like
be a
Robert
baby-back bitch and finish the goddamn story. Like, I'm scared to criticize it.
Write the damn book.
I didn't even join.
Millions of dollars, and people are going to say it's not as good as they thought it was going to be.
Just do it. Yeah.
Rob, just write it. Like fucking crybaby, little bitches.
Also, I like this informative conversation going on in the comments here. See Battsauce?
Completely underrated.
Wife. No. There you go, AC.
Bat wife.
Anyway, just to summarize it, the boring aspects, yes, it is 100% a criticism. I criticized that at first before I read through them multiple times in my long hours in the warehouse and was able to analyze it a little bit more. But what he's doing there is he's showing you what's going to happen in the book with very, very almost too subtle of foreshadowing. And he's also showing you what has happened in the past, like with Sir Duncan the Tall. So she's either role-playing events with her ancestor, or she's role-playing events from their Christ-like figure, Azor Ahai, the person who caused the Long Night. Stuff like that.
I mean, that's all really cool. But if the 6th book comes out and proves some of that, then I'd agree. I just don't know if that's ever going to happen. That's my problem.
Well, AC, you might have missed that portion. We think he's written the 6th book and that he will not release it purposefully.
Yeah, I could see that.
Also, before we talk about, or let's talk about Rothfuss for a second. Have you guys read Rothfuss?
I read his first book.
Yep, same. Name
I
of the
read
Wind.
his first book, and that was it. I was not a fan, and I think the reason is because, and this is where I think I differ with you guys in just story writing in general. Not that it's a bad thing. It's a preference thing. I don't like flowery writing.
That
and I think
makes sense
because it just makes me struggle to catch on what's going on, and I need simple details. I need to be simple to work in my brain.
You can have cool prose like Robert E. Howard, but not flowery prose like Rothfuss.
I mean, it worked with George R. R. Martin though. I don't know what it is. I don't know how my brain works with it.
Well,
but
his isn't flowery in the same way. It's a very different kind of, and it always represents someone's misconception. Almost always.
Yeah. There's so much symbolism. It's ridiculous. I know what you mean. Like that's where the term purple prose comes from. Because it's really just flowery prose to the point where it's purple.
So his audiobook, we talking in general. I thought he was talking about the Name of the Wind's audiobook. It was horrible. That was like the worst narrator ever.
There are two versions.
Is there?
There
are. I listened to this.
It
was a really young sounding kid, and it was so bland.
Hey, wag.
If you're insulting my guy, we're gonna fight.
I actually incorporated a little bit of Rothfuss's prose into my writing style. I really like how he says stuff like "her eyes danced." Like that.
I like his.
I like that.
Like if he eventually actually did release his books, like in a somewhat timing, like even between the first and second, there was a long time, but at least it happened. If it was like that for every release, I'd be okay with it because for me, he has my favorites. Like it's up there in my top 3 favorite authors in regard to just prose.
So I hear
right up there with me.
My freaking wife, man, is criticizing my audio. I'm aware, Caroline. I'm aware my audio is not as good as theirs.
No, I'm really glad you have like an audiobook. I've been so stuffed with like design work and trying to finish this episode of Spirit Animals while I have creative energy that I haven't gotten around to listening yet. But as soon as I finish with this, since I won't have anything that I need to like write right away, I plan on diving right into that, along with at least one other audiobook. I've been collecting Iron Age audiobooks from those who have it. I know I have McCoppin's.
So it was narrated by Nick Podey.
Yeah, no, that's him. And he's awesome, and you're wrong. It's fine. Well, like over half of the book is from the perspective of like a child.
Yeah.
So having the young voice really works. And then even most of the time, it's either when he's a child or when he's like a teenager. So I think for that reason it works. But
didn't it have like a super? Well, I don't want to say super unique, but like there's actually some juicy lore with like the magic a little bit.
Oh, very, very juicy lore. It gets a lot deeper in the second book too.
Energy consumption or something like that.
Yeah,
like
it's very much a magic system book. Yeah. So I if I had to guess, I would say, like if I was going to place a bet, I would say a lot of Sanderson fans enjoy Rothfuss.
Well, Sanderson has said that as well. I think Sanderson is a big fan of Patrick.
There's one thing about it though that makes it that he does very, very well, and it's not just one magic system; it's 2. One is or actually technically 3, but that's in book 2. You don't need to worry about that. But he has the naming. Naming is just primordial. It's like as the world was created, it's something very hard to understand. It's not like you study and figure it out kind of
The true name of things has power over them. I think that's very like Celtic. That's
in all.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. Words have power. That goes way back. I was just gonna say that's a nod to like probably the first fantasy story ever. Abracadabra.
And then binding, or that's not the right word, but I'm going to call it binding because I can't remember. Binding magic, which is basically using it's energy transference, is what it is.
Energy transference,
and that's it. It's very scientific and very clever and very interesting. And then you have the Fey magic, which is just something else altogether.
Yeah. So I don't remember a good about it, but I remember some of my other issues with it had to do with some of the story details. Again, I don't remember too much.
Thank you, Herman.
Bondage magic, yes. Yeah, I think if I were to come up with a specific example, the when he got blooded or whatever it was called, punished.
Oh, whipped in public?
Yeah. And then he took medication to kind of make it like not a problem.
Well, yeah, it was he took a numbing drug basically.
Yeah, and they were okay with him doing that.
No, they didn't know he did it.
All right. I forgot there's some I don't remember, so I don't remember.
Basically the entire time he's at school, he's riding a fine line of I have to break the rules in order to be able to stay and do everything I need to do. But if they know how many rules I break, or even certain ones that I break specifically, then I will be kicked out. So he's riding the razor's edge for pretty much the entire first book, actually, in regards to school.
Yeah,
I did appreciate how Rothfuss was not afraid.
How dare you, Battsauce? And yes, both the bloodless. Yeah, no. The second book has some problems, but it also gets into some of the more interesting things too, like the Fey world and the Lethani and all of that as well.
I think that one thing that I really liked about that was making dragons essentially vegan. I actually thought that was really good. No, because like they eat trees, right? And it's like
he's a giant cow lizard chicken. Yeah.
Well, like I'm like that actually makes sense, right? Because I'm like, well, that makes the fire actually have utility.
All the animals would all be gone if dragons.
Right. Yeah. There's no way to sustain them through meat, and I'm like, wow, that's actually really. I like that. And then also some of the biggest animals in our animal kingdom are vegetarians.
Very true.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah. And even T-Rex and those other large predators were scavengers. They evolved to be that large in order to just bully people out of their kill. So like you get like I'll just default to the most well-known ones, but like you get like a pack of velociraptors that takes down one of those big dragon-sized dinosaurs that eats trees. Then you get a mating pair of T-Rexes that just comes along and says, "Get the fuck out of here. That's mine now." You know?
Yeah, they're mating when they roll up.
Yeah,
I think I'd leave too.
Mid-mating, yeah, dude. It's part of it's their hot guy.
That was like one of my favorite twists that he did on like the fantasy genre. I was like, actually, more people should make that their lore for dragons.
I'm on it. I'll do it for you, Battsauce. I don't care. People can say I ripped off Rothfuss. No, so the logic is they can't like the world would just go broke basically if they were eating meat. They would eat everything. Yeah. Either that or you could only have like one dragon, or something.
I think with Rothfuss, it kind of comes down to this. There's two things. You have to like the prose, because if you don't, like Battsauce, like it's very much his prose.
Dude, there are sometimes I'm like, dude, just shut the fuck up and tell me, like, just tell me what's there. Tell me what's there. Stop.
That's the Marine talking in this case. But, and the other aspect is you have to enjoy going on the journey with Kvoth.
Wait, I don't think Herman knows I'm the one commenting in Kumina's voice. Because he got
most people don't. That's what I'm saying.
Sorry, but you were saying the prose.
The prose, and then you have like it's kind of it's not written in first person, but you almost have to treat it that way because so much of it is like in Kvoth's head. So if you don't like Kvoth, like a lot of young adult fiction, you will not like the book. and that's a part of it too.
It might
My
not even
wife
be
mentioned that I probably forgot about this, but he was cocky. Was he cocky in the book?
He's a genius with a lot of skill in almost everything. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I
very
didn't. Yeah, I think that was something I didn't like either. But
Well, that's just a product of its time, I think.
I think part of it was an act because cocky implies that you're overconfident, but he was usually either confident that he'd figure it out even if he doesn't know something, or he was trying to display himself as stronger than he was.
Yeah,
So-
like the giving the blood over, right? In book 1.
Yeah, Kvothe the Bloodless. They called him that because he took the null root and chewed it. It numbed his pain, and then it made his blood clot faster.
yeah,
So it looked like he didn't bleed after he got whipped publicly.
Oh no, I was but that too, but like I was referring to when he gave his blood to the
Yeah.
banker, the banker essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, what were you gonna say, Bats?
no, I can't like it. It was so long ago, and I it didn't interest me, so I don't remember my critiques of it. So
Well, it
is
also
what it
like
is.
my mom has trouble reading it because it gets really dark when he's in the city and he's a street orphan. That's
what-
if you're a sensitive person, that's a very hard thing to read about.
I was gonna bring that up really quick, and it ties together with your wife Seabat's comment there, Kvothe Sue.
yeah,
When you get like what you were saying, Kahuna, he's very confident, he's very capable because he's a very self-aware of himself, but he's also purposely trying to also inflate himself in other cases. I think
Well, like he has a
that's-
line about that. He says the best lies people told about me were ones that I made up myself.
And I think that's starting to verge on a little bit of Mary Sue territory, but you get the entire urchin plot.
Isn't it?
He's not afraid to start at the very beginning. This is a little kid. He's a freaking urchin. Let's watch his whole life, and that's why the book is like
Yeah.
this thick.
Isn't it also unreliable narrator?
They say that, but it's a little unclear because there's a lot even after book 2. There's a lot that had to happen between that and where we see him as an adult and retelling this story, and so I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
Oh, animation overlord!
Hell!
But yeah, I did
Hello,
appreciate.
animation overlord. You do us a great service for being
Pretty
here.
tremendous.
Have a good day.
You big, beautiful animation. He overloaded all over the place and then he left.
Yeah. I did definitely appreciate the urchin, though. Like I saw what he was doing. I'm like, you're taking a little bit like really long time to do this, bro. But I see what you're doing. I can't like talk too much shit about it.
Well, like plus it like imagine if he hadn't gone through that, all of his accomplishments would not have been satisfying throughout the story.
Totally amazing.
Because he wouldn't have had to fight for his life. He would have had something to go back to if he failed. And the urchin part of the story took that away from it. And plus it made scenes like when the preacher man who took care of him occasionally, or the man who gave him a pair of shoes but as he was leaving the city. It's like those scenes do not work at all if you don't experience the darkness of him basically losing half of his brain and living as a beggar on the streets for like 5 issues or something like that.
Years, yeah. And like, it's gritty and it's honest. It's honest. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, I'll read the book when the third one comes out. It took a while on that one.
He is fake news. My hands have been up here. I've been doing this. I'm not. No, absolutely.
Tom, nothing but the truth. Everything in there.
You're
is
fake news.
honest to God. Oh, the ultimate Kahuna. I think the best sources, the Bible sources tell me it is the ultimate Kahuna.
Oh my goodness. Premium content on the Iron Age.
Oh, bro.
I don't know much about overloading, but if I did know anything about it, and I know the best people know stuff about overloading, that Kahuna definitely would say that he wants to be overloaded on.
Oh, bro, I'm crying.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Great.
Oh. Yep. Definitely me. All of my comments are authentic Kahuna. These are Kahuna approved.
Did somebody say something about Kahuna being overloaded on?
Oh, give us a snake. Is that Puro?
Is that Puro? Oh my god.
I don't know. Emily, we're all asking that question.
Premium.
We don't really know anymore.
Premium boy.
Oh, bro.
It was our Lord and Savior Donald Trump. Come on, man.
So the God Emperor of mankind. But praise be
Followed
to
by
God first, of course.
current president.
So, do you guys think? Did you guys talk about the Clone Wars? Did we touch on that?
No.
No.
Which one? Because there's three. Because there's three.
Well, I was referring to the animated show, like
Which
the
one?
first one. Yeah, not the Samurai Jack artist one. That one was fucking amazing.
Amazing. That's the best Star Wars thing.
That's the best Star Wars period.
Yeah.
The 3D Clone Wars one that started off pretty good and then got at the end.
At its best, it is some of the best Star Wars storytelling. At its worst,
I agree with that.
It is over-explanatory, bad lore-breaking. What?
Well, dude, it started off as like the Twilight Zone, right? It was like isolated.
episodic.
Here's all these isolated stories, and then it became the Ahsoka Tano show, right?
Yeah. So my theory, basically, that I brought up is like we were okay. Like, I mean, I wasn't a Star Wars book reader, but yeah, and we were like, they made a lot of lore changes, and like I feel like the mainstream paid attention to that, and looking at the majority of people being okay with that, like, did that give them the mainstream the okay to be like, no, we can make lore changes as long as it's good, but
dude.
Like some of them weren't even lore changes; they were just weird choices. Like the introduction of the Witches of Dathomir. On one hand, I think it's cool, but on the other hand, I'm like, you have the Force, which is the magic system in this sci-fi world, but then you have these witches that do something completely separate from that.
And I know it's in the book, but the witch thing, and I remember when it was current, I thought it was good, but like looking back, I'm like, the witches were fucking stupid. And bringing back Maul was fucking stupid.
You could have had Savage Opress. I love that name. Darth Maul and his brother.
I know, dude.
I love the name. Leave the name. He's just a big boy who likes to throw his weight around.
It's like they forgot how to do the classic fantasy names, like the good ones, like from Dune. You got to be like Mal Fang. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's
we were cool like that.
Like,
it's not Savage Opress. It's Savage.
I mean, we were kind of like brainwashed from being Star Wars fans and just
Darth Maul.
Yeah, you bring back Darth Maul. We're like, yes, Darth Maul's back. We get more of him, but it's like in retrospect, because back then movies weren't getting ruined like they were. So we were just like, yes, more Maul content. But now it's like we see the repercussions of that because like we weren't thinking, well, what happens next? What does Maul being back say to the overall story? And maybe it's just we're older and we're thinking about that more, or just
I think I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem. It's like remember when the Bourne Identity movies came out? Excellent action movies. I really enjoy them. I think they are really good. They do something a little bit different from the books, but I think they are really good action movies. Every action movie for the next 10 years took the wrong lessons from those movies.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of what happened with like some of the things they did in Clone Wars. I think they took they saw what some of the things that Clone Wars did in an earnest attempt to tell good stories, and did it without the earnest attempt.
I mean, they did the same thing with Game of Thrones. Killing equals good. Characters dying is good story. No.
Negative engagement.
Boobs equals storytelling.
Characters dying.
I mean, it can, but
in the right way to your story is good. Characters dying does not automatically equal good, but they're fucking brain dead.
So what you're saying is characters dying by boobs is potentially great storytelling.
Well, that's mathematically accurate.
Mathematically,
that's spiritually accurate. Actually, what is?
But yeah, I think a great example of that is actually the Red Wedding comparison. Like, look, the pregnant lady that they killed on the show is now a very important part to how the book ends. If she has dude's baby, that's a Stark baby, bro. That's a Stark baby.
We disagree on this, though, man.
I know. Because it's all good, though.
I mean, yeah, you weren't there for when I was talking about it, though. But it's like, yeah, it just in the book, it just was way too obvious that wedding was going to go down bad.
Oh yeah,
and it made him just a stupid character because he comes back with a girl from.
I thought it was obvious in the show as well. That was my first way that I experienced this.
Well, it was obvious, but you understood why he broke the vow to marry the other woman.
In the show, you do. In the book, you kind of don't.
Because you get to meet
in the book, he's a dumb 15-year-old kid.
Yeah, you get to meet his wife beforehand. You actually get a taste of what kind of character is. Like I was saying before, like you get to understand that she is an honorable character, and that this is somebody that you would. She's such a good person that you would break your vow for. Whereas in
large orbs,
salty orbs,
large and in charge orbs.
Well, in the book, you don't get any of that. You're just like, this is the stupidest king in the fucking world.
Right. It's showing that, like, okay, so you got to give him some sort of weakness, and like he's very young. He kind of listens. Well, actually, no, he does his own thing. He makes the wrong choices sometimes because he's human. But at the same time, it's an examination of like, okay, here's this virtuous heroic character. Here's him not being virtuous, but it's for the sake of love. It's the human heart in conflict.
Just because something makes sense doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
Because something's realistic doesn't mean it's good. Because a lot of people use that as an argument of being like, well, characters make mistakes in real life, like they do stupid things, and you're like, yes, but this is a fantasy story. Just because it's realistic doesn't mean it's good. Yeah.
No, I don't know. That's something you kind of have to feel out. That's a really tricky thing to do because you don't want a story where nobody acts like a person.
Right.
But at the same time, you don't want people making dumb mistakes all the time.
Exactly.
Well, that's unrealistic.
Yes.
Too.
There's a balance. It's an art, right? It's not math.
Hold on, I gotta lose this hat. Oh my god.
When a character acts incredibly stupid, where you're like, this is just so unbelievable, like, is that realistic? It can be, because people in real life do some incredibly stupid things. But I mean, just because it can happen in real life doesn't mean it makes for good storytelling.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, it's actually kind of dumb and pointless and angering when stuff like that happens in real life, to be frank. But that's just, more examples of George doing his heart and conflict philosophy, because that's personally what he thinks is, but he could have did it better. You know what I mean? It is a very obvious betrayal, like, oh, you'll marry my daughter. Oh, he found a girlfriend. Wonder what's going to happen there. You know what I mean? Like,
he found a girlfriend and she's super preggers, guys. I don't know why they're Valley girls now, but they are.
It's another thing with words have power too. He made a vow. He made like a holy vow and a promise.
Hold on, I got to do the voice for this real quick.
I disagree with Battsauce. All 15-year-olds are incredibly stupid. Give them power, they're going to make bad decisions with terrible consequences.
I'm sorry I turned you into a Karen, but Seabass is a Karen. I don't want to hear any. I will hear no dissent on this fact. I'm kidding. Don't hurt me. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I don't agree. I don't agree that all 15-year-olds make bad decisions.
That's true. Now, real quick, I think our last.
They're likely to. Yeah.
I'll let you finish your point, but I think our last subject for the night should be 7 deadly sins in story writing. Both examples that we've seen and maybe things we'd like to see in the future too, because there's kind of 2 different ways this is tackled in storytelling, and I'd love to talk to you guys about it. But finish your point, AC. You were on a rant.
Oh, that was it. Oh, wait, was I on a rant? What was I?
Well, I was going to say my last point was, think about it. He was, well, I didn't realize he was 15, to be honest, because I saw the show first, and in my head he's that old. So I maybe everyone went back with different eyes, but I still stand by. I like the introduction of the wife first and making the reader or the observer understand why he made that decision. Yeah, I think not showing that is a disservice, but yeah.
I agree. He was like dreading that scene for the entire book too. It's famously the last scene he wrote in that entire book. He got to the Red Wedding, skipped that chapter, continued writing the book, finished the rest of the book, and then went back and he's like, all right, time to kill my kids. That's how he describes it. It's like killing your own children. So he said it was actually very hard for him to write. But I get that.
That's because he's weak sauce.
No, never mind. He's not bad sauce. He's weak sauce.
Yeah. So 7 Deadly Sins.
Yes.
A buddy of mine that has he's been making Magic the Gathering content. He's a budding YouTuber. I plan on having him on at the Pritchard Club soon. Shoutouts to I'm forgetting his name. Cinemodium.
Oh, I think I've talked to him before. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a whole Deadly Sin thing going on in his story. Yeah. I've kind of incorporated it a little bit into spirit animals.
I was going to say you have into spirit animals for sure.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, so using the 7 Deadly Sins, they're used a lot, especially in anime. But as much as they're used, I still enjoy it. I've heard from Lit Devil, and I totally agree with this. If you're thinking about like a character and giving them a flaw because your characters need flaws, well, an easy way to give your character flaws is use one of the 7 Deadly Sins.
That's a neat, like in regards to storytelling, there's 2 different basic ways to have it incorporated into your storytelling, like that on an individual basis, like give this person a flaw amongst that selection. The other way, though, which is maybe the more obvious way, is to have it be a direct thing in the story. Full Metal Alchemist, 7 Deadly Sins, Seven, the
direct and indirect.
Yes,
and even the show 7 Deadly Sins. Like you just see this everywhere. It's a human thing. Like and it goes beyond.
Praise the sun.
It goes like beyond religion and stuff. I think these sins and these virtues go further back.
Well, they fucking nailed it. Like,
yeah.
It's just like that's what happened. They came up with the sins. And they fucking nailed it.
Well, like even look at Full Metal Alchemist compared to 7 Deadly Sins, not in quality, but in the way they use the sins. In the 7 Deadly Sins, the sins are actually the good guys, and it just represents a weakness that they have, supposedly. Supposedly.
Weren't they straight up bad guys in the original animated version?
In the manga, you mean?
No. Like the first animated series that was made for Full Metal, weren't they?
It was in a similar manner. It's just how they were created were different.
They're mostly evil. Virtually all the sins are, and like greed, ironically, is the only one that has very many redemptive qualities to him.
Well, sloth too, which that didn't make sense. Their mom was.
No, he doesn't have redemptive qualities. He's just not.
Are we not talking about Full Metal?
We are talking about Full Metal.
Yeah, the mom was sloth in the first one.
Oh, I wasn't talking. I'm talking about the good one. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. AC was talking about the bad one.
I remember the bad one. I just thought it was like, weren't they bad? Really, like the whole time? And
that's what you meant by the first one. I can't. After watching the real story, I can't. Yeah. I can't really watch the other one.
It wasn't too bad. They got rushed the ending really bad. It was an interesting change, I'll say that, but it just really upset me that the mom was sloth.
A worse change.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And that's right. Envy was Izumi's son in the first one.
Oh, I forgot. Dude, I don't think I even finished the OG series, actually.
Well, the way that they were created, the homunculus, was basically whenever human transmutation was done. So they created
one of the sins.
Yeah, but their sin. That's what I really hate is their sins had really nothing to do with them.
Oh, that's kind of lame.
Yeah,
That
it
actually
had to do with the powers.
Because that woman whose name, God bless me, I can't remember her name. Brilliant
Izumi?
writer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
No, the mangaka for Full Metal.
Yeah.
Brilliant story writer. So good with themes and character designs, story arcs. The whole thing is just.
So how would you? Let's solve that right now. Like, okay, so we are the creators of Full Metal Alchemist. You have these deadly sins. How do you modify the world building so that actually makes sense, that they embody some sort of like sin? I mean, it could work because of alchemy, right? Equivalent exchange in some way could somehow make that work, but at the same time, it doesn't work because it's very scientific.
Well, I thought it could have worked if the either the person or the way that they died was something to do with the sin. Like, let's take the mother for example, because it made no sense that she was sloth. Like, she had nothing to do with being indecisive or lazy or anything like that. Like, it literally contributed nothing to like if she was an indecisive person and that's what ultimately led up to her death, failing to make a decision.
Yeah.
Then it'd actually be really cool that she was sloth.
Oh, I have an idea. What if, like, if we had to solve this problem, what if the people who commit the human transmutation, the motivating thing that motivates them is what creates that particular? Is it pride? Cool. Is it sloth for some reason? Is it
equivalent exchange?
They were like bribed into do it or something like that, and they didn't say how. Yeah,
right. It's like say Edward creates something and it creates pride because that's something he did struggle with.
Yes,
and then someone else, and then maybe like if in a weird alternate version, Alphonse does it too out of envy, and then it creates envy.
Yes,
that's how you could do it. It's an interesting idea.
And now that we've kind of revealed that a little bit, like it's at least close enough that it would work enough. And so that's like one throwaway line. That's like one throwaway line that you could just inject, or like she could have just thought.
Well, this is an example of when collaborating on story could work.
Yeah.
But it's a very I know of people who have co-written books, and it's a tricky thing to do. It's a tricky thing to do.
Yeah,
I think some people can do it, but like writing by community is tough. It's tough.
Yeah, shout outs to Battsauce.
Yeah. Well, it's like I was the lead on it, right? I mean that helps. Yeah, so I mean, I incorporated a lot of that stuff in there. I stayed away from the 7 deadly sins, like specifically. Like, they do play a part in my second book. It's like something you have to like really like look into the details to pick up. Basically, every time this one character's chapter starts, they're basically tortured in a different manner, and I themed them all to do with the 7 deadly sins. So it's not right there in your face, but it's there.
Cool.
Well, like we kind of also ignored the elephant in the room in regards to 7 deadly sins storytelling stuff. You know, freaking Dante's Inferno.
Yeah,
I can't believe I forgot to mention that one.
Yeah, the original. Yeah. Almost debatably the original. And I mean, the argument to be made against the 7 deadly sins, I would say, is there's really only one, right? Pride. They all stem from pride. That's what some people have said.
I've heard that. Well, pride is the greatest one.
It leads to all the
others. I don't really agree with that necessarily.
It's an interesting idea to explore. I've explored that idea. I don't really buy it.
Yeah, because it doesn't really have to do with gluttony,
or even sloth either.
Yeah. But
I could try to word salad it to make sense. But I know what you're saying.
You could toss that salad.
And I agree. Yeah.
So let's talk Dante's Inferno a little bit, because I think it's a big disservice that nobody. Because Dante's Inferno is.
I've never read the original. I've only seen the animated movie.
I've never read the original either, but I just watched a shit ton of YouTube videos on it.
Royce is quaking in his boots right now.
Yeah. No. He doesn't get to. Because let me get to my point. Everybody knows and references the Inferno, but they're not even separate books technically. They're part of the same book. There's Purgatorio and Paradiso, and nobody gives them any fucking respect, and it's kind of nuts.
Paradiso.
Like, nobody knows. anything about the Purgatorio or Paradiso. And like in Purgatorio, and I mentioned Seven Deadly Sins, but it's not influenced from Inferno in my book. It's influenced from Purgatorio because people don't realize this. Like, in order to get to heaven, because you're in purgatory, you have to wash yourself of your sins. So they have to go through these stages up this mountain, and they're like pretty fucking brutal some of the times.
Well, yeah, you have to. Yeah, imagine if if Jesus didn't, kill sin for you, and you'd have to do it yourself. That
would be the logic.
Well, they original sin people go to Inferno.
Heavily, I agree. I did read that one. That was a good one.
Have you guys heard of the book? Just Inferno, I think it's called.
That sounds familiar.
You know what I'm talking about? It's about a dude who is journeying into the center of hell. But like right in the very first, like you open up the book and the first thing you see is a map of hell. And
sounds like just Inferno.
Well, right. But it's like a different take on it because like they show you this map. There's a little point that is like the destination. So like it's a promise, like you said earlier, Kahuna, like there's a promise right off the bat. So this map, you open it up and you're like, he's going to go right there into the middle of hell. So every chapter
this is the story of him going there.
Going right here on this map. Yeah. And so what ends up happening is you can almost have these, the book unfolds episodically. Each chapter, he meets like a different like celebrity and they do some crazy shit down in hell. And it's like, kind of just like whatever. But what makes the book special is when you reach the end of each of these isolated adventures, you find yourself excited to go to the next one, even if it was kind of cheesy, like he's hanging out with,
Still describing Dante's Inferno.
Did he actually go hang out with a bunch of celebrities? So this person probably just
but the idea is kind of I think it's like a modern interpretation.
I think that's what it was.
It sounds like it. Yeah,
because there's like modern
people
all the way from Florida. Mr. Brian McCoppin.
You come to McCoppin. But yeah, I think there was a lot of modern celebrities in there, like people who recently died. So yeah, that checks out.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, you found yourself excited to go to the next one because you're like, oh, I'm a little closer to that dot. Yeah. He's a little closer to that dot. And, and it's like a clever little.
Dante's Inferno was the OG diss track.
He put a lot of people he hated in hell. Like,
yeah.
And he was a really big countryman. So like he loved Florence. And even though Florence like kicked him out for some reason, he still loved the place. So if somebody insulted Florence or God, if you insulted, like that's why he put some of the popes like really deep into hell. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah. Your wife is on fire.
That is how you say it, Herman.
Yeah.
It's Mick Brian McCuppin.
Brian.
Also, you know who else goes into like Seven Deadly Sin stuff in their story? In the as of yet unpublished story, the Herverse and Defeat a King by Sybil. He is one of the best like first draft writers I've ever seen. I've ever heard. What are you writing?
Nothing. What?
Why did this? How did this even happen? Because I've been an administrator. I've never been given access to comment as that person. Oh my god! Oh, bro.
Call me Hackerman.
We're gonna have to clip every instance of this happening from this episode.
I would have forgotten by now, to be honest.
Zoom into my shitty grin, just.
But yeah, no, Sybil, he goes into that in his story because he has the 7 layers of hell, and it's not actually hell. It's just like the basically the magical dimension, and goes into the technology and magic and weird things like from going from one place to another, and no power can be destroyed or created. They simply are, and they basically are in an eternal war. Like all of the sin kind of areas and warlords are in an eternal struggle with one another.
That's kind of cool too.
Instead of like, it's an interesting take on it.
Yeah, instead of like giving a person a deadly sin as a flaw, you're embodying an entire like culture in this area, you know what I mean? And having them in this perpetual mortal struggle. That's kind of a cool way to do it.
Well, he did something very weird with his story. It's a very wholesome story about a succubus.
Hell yeah.
It sounds like a joke, but it's a very wholesome love story, actually, without any of the sexual stuff. It's about a half-breed elf fall in love with a succubus, but yeah, it's not like Fourth Wing stuff at all. It's none of that stuff. I promise you, it sounds bad, but it's a very that's his biggest problem, selling this book. But the book itself is very, very good. You can check it out on his Substack. I'll try to link it.
Hell yeah.
I think half my beta readers are in here tonight. Yeah, for the betas! Wait.
For the betas.
For the betas. Good line.
Don't call them betas.
So yeah, I think I actually it's not a distaste. It's not a distaste in my mouth when somebody is even really heavy-handed with the 7 deadly sins. I don't know. It's a trope that doesn't really.
Well, even in the show 7 Deadly Sins, it doesn't. They don't do as much with it as they should. But I do like that it's in there. You know, it doesn't detract from the story that they call him that.
Agreed.
I think the best example of the sin is Pride. He's the one who most obviously displays his sin out of all of them in that show. Yeah. But he's also the best character. Sorry.
Right. That one is a little bit loosey-goosey with it. For sure. It's not like Full Metal. Full Metal, it's like...
You know, it's not... you mean it's not clever and well thought out?
Yeah.
The prayer don't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even try to be heavy-handed with my stuff.
This is a very weird thing you're doing to yourself, Joe. I think there's some. I think you got some skeletons in your closet. Yeah, I think you really have to, encounter the shadow and incorporate it into your person.
He's down the shadow of thyself.
I do love Jordan Peters. Oh, have you guys ever heard Herman's Jordan Peterson impersonation?
I have not.
It's almost perfect, dude. It's so funny.
It's almost perfect. I need to find the Jordan Peterson AI voice real quick. Oh, here's a Giga Chad. Does Giga Chad work?
Well, let's hear the Giga Chad. I want to hear it.
Do I sound just like Battsauce, the Giga Chad?
A little bit.
Did you say Giga Chad? Is that what you just said?
I think it gives him an accent.
Chad.
It gives him an accent like this.
Yeah,
I wish it also
sometimes
gave you the chin. I wish it also gave you.
Yeah, the AI voices sometimes struggle like picking up some of the words.
Yeah, yep. Some words don't translate to giga very well.
Yeah.
As far as
I do think it's about time. So let's go over final thoughts on 7 Deadly Sins, and then we can do our shilling.
Last thought, it's not actually like super incorporated into my spirit animals world, and it's non-existent in my other material, as far as I remember. But what I've done with spirit animals is it's like, instead of using it as like a flaw, like you said, Battsauce, it's more like I realized I needed a certain amount of things, and these are good templates to dive into a wholly original character with this in mind. You know what I mean? So this is a greedy character. What are some things that might factor into that, rather than him being defined by it? It's kind of like, this is a guideline. You know what I mean? Like this person.
No, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's lusty. So like they have this personality, which leads to other things. But that's kind of how I've used it, instead of like, that's greed over there. You know.
Well, the 7 Deadly Sins are just really good, just to help, like, what's the word? Just kind of guide you. Like if you're a little bit lost, like, and like I said, where, with the flaws, if you struggle with that, or you just need some kind of influence, like you said, just for character personalities, it doesn't necessarily have to be a flaw. Are you done with your thought on that, or?
Oh yeah, it's just like 7 different heroes, 7 different types of villains, kind of thing. Like, yeah, a lot of things can work like that. But that was it.
So I guess with me, Seven Deadly Sins. I mean, they're always. It's a classic. I actually kind of really love seeing anything reference Seven Deadly Sin, even if it is used so commonly. I don't know. It's like comfort food, I guess, for me. Maybe that's not the best way to say it, but
No, I agree.
yeah. But my book, Planet Babel Dawn Edge, for free audiobook on Substack. The not necessarily the Seven Deadly Sins directly. It is Dante's Inferno, Dante's Purgatorio, and Dante's Paradiso. Huge influence to my books. You'll if you look, you'll see it all over the place. Like I named all like my major robots in there. They are all named after one of the planes in Paradiso.
What if you don't look?
What if you don't look? I don't know. How else do you read the words?
Then you'll just be very confused. No.
But yeah, Royce, read the other goddamn 2 books.
Yeah.
He literally says it.
Wait, has he said he hasn't read them?
Yes, he has, and it kills me because I'm like, he literally says to him, which is fine, whatever. He's like, this book to me is more important than the Bible, and he's very religious, and I'm like, you haven't finished the book. like technically, it was written as one book, all 3 of those.
No shame his way. Except for the shame I'm about to throw his way.
Yes.
Royce is a weird fucking guy, if you haven't figured that out yet. He swims in his jeans and he wears boots unless he's in the shower or getting into bed. Even in the house.
I suspect the
He's
shower.
not a normal person. I love him to death, but he's not normal.
It's what we love about him, though, honestly. Like, dude's human.
I know. It's so weird that it throws me off. Like I'm a weird guy. Like I'm weird the opposite way. I don't wear jeans when I swim, but I have swum nude more times than I should have.
Well, it's like we were talking about before with characters being realistic. Like he'd be a character in a book where you're like, this just isn't real.
This is not how people are.
Like, no, guys, I promise it's a literal 1-for-1 character.
People don't act like this.
Nobody would refuse getting a goat for this long. It just doesn't happen.
Then you provide all the streams of Royce, and then the mob is still just like, no, that's AI. No, that's a paid actor. They had these videos on private the whole time because they were planning this as publicity stunt.
He's only 5'4".
Well, that's just true. Yeah, he's only 5'4".
Yeah.
Rose is 5'11". He's 5'4",
Yeah.
and
that's interesting.
I'm just saying, it's weird. Anybody being 5'4", right? Especially him.
I know, especially a man. Imagine being a man at 5'4".
Oh my god!
You have to be really funny, like Kevin Hart. But imagine.
Oh my god! Or like, no, that was.
Thank you, Brian.
Good.
Hey, Evely, thanks for stopping by, brother. Love you, man. Good night. Don't make it weird.
Yeah. All right.
And, can also be short if you're Peter Dinklage. But then until you start talking shit about your own race for clout, then you're weird.
You talking about him talking shit about dwarves?
I don't know. Dwarves a race. Dwarf is.
You know that race, the dwarves? We're just people. No, you're not. Get in your mind. Know your place, ground beneath her.
Dwarves famously hate elves, so that clip where he was talking shit about dwarves and elves, it came off a little racist.
Then have it fall into the hands of an elf.
Yeah. No,
he plays an elf.
Yeah. I did think it was clever.
Call me elf one more time. He's an angry elf. Oh, all right. So now, guys, we're coming to the end of the night. It's time to go to bed. Bed. We're going to start. A.C. Pritchard, chill your stuff.
You can find my books on Amazon at amazon.com/author/A.C. Pritchard. Mortal Descent directly contributes to funding my comic, at least until I launch it on Fund My Comic. So any purchase there will help. the Pritchard Pub directly. You can sub to the pub on Substack, where it's kind of a content bank of sorts. pritchardpub.substack.com for all the enhanced audio of past streams and fun stuff. Like this episode will be on there probably at some point, for example. And my free content, acpritchard.substack.com for spirit animals. I'm almost done with episode 3. Kahuna's doing some voices. I think I'm also going to get Mr. Mindflayer in there to do the voice of one specific character. Mr. Mindflayer has this insanely deep voice. I don't know if you guys have ever heard it, but it's just
I haven't talked. I've only ever messaged him. I've never spoken to him.
Really nice guy. But I promised him a vulture, and at last minute there was a vulture switch up that happened with episode 3. So now that is his character, and it's even better than the one I had planned. So it'll be kind of cool to just have him jump in for a couple lines and then come back for more later. But I digress. acpritchard.substack.com for free content. Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, next week.
Sub to the pub.
Sub to the pub.
Yes.
And next week, the show will be on the Pritchard Pub. So keep your eyes out.
Yes, sir.
Where can you find me?
We'll try to put together some more fun stuff to it again. This is
yeah.
a kid weekend, so I'm going to be a bit busy, but I'll do my best. Now, Battsauce.
We're delivering quality content every week. So Battsauce on YouTube. Stuff. I make videos. I'm also clipping up this stuff too. Battsauce on Twitter. Battsauce on Substack, where you can read my book or listen to my book for free. Eventually, I'll try to get my chapters out too on there as well. So look out.
Don't worry, he means it.
Yeah. So, guys, I think we agree we'll do guests at some point. So, message us.
We kind of just want to get into a rhythm with the show first.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to guests, but I don't want it to be a large 7 to 10 person panel every week. It's not.
No, I figured we'd just do 1 or 2 people. Probably just 1. But hey, reach out. We might start doing that at some point.
Yeah. If you want to get on, just reach around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Give a good talk.
Like I said.
Anyway,
we're doing quality content here, guys. Listen, the Iron Age is a time period, but the Iron Seas, we're a community. You can join us just by subbing to all 3 of our channels. Maybe we'll get a Guilded started at some point. What you got something to say, Kahuna?
At some point, we'll have special content for people, and you too can be an Iron Seaman.
Yes.
Yes.
Join the fight today.
Wait. Be an Iron Seaman. Join the race today.
Yeah. And then you can upgrade to Lance Seaman, Seaman First Class, Lieutenant Seaman,
Platinum Seaman.
But everybody,
I'm going to help.
Grab a whore, because these seas are rough. Join us in the Iron Seas.
Yeah.
Don't forget your rubbers. You never know when you're going to get wet.
Anyway, the scurvy is.
I think
this podcast is pretty good, guys. You should probably sub to them.
Also, everybody buy Battsauce's book. I still need to buy it, but funds are low. I'll get it here soon. Well, it'll be with my next Amazon order. But you can find me at the Ultimate Kahuna, this channel right here. If you're watching, just click that little like button. It's not weird. Yeah, just stay a little longer. No, and then also the Ultimate Kahuna on Twitter. But yeah, guys, thanks for coming by. We had a good show, decent turnout tonight, a good show, and I'm excited. I'll be having more episodes of Iron Age Legends coming up as well, so looking forward to that, as well as reading streams late at night. Be a fun time.
Share it. The sea is best.
But
difficulties.
Godspeed. Hail the Iron Age!
Ball with the ball, the bang, the dang, dig. Set the boogie, sit up, jump the boogie. Ball with the ball, the bang, the dang, dig. Set the boogie, sit up, jump the boogie. With the ball, the bang, the dang, dig. Said the boogie, sit up, jump the boogie. Bob with a bob, the bang, the dang, dang, diggy, diggy, dick. Said the boogie, sit up, jump the boogie. My name is Bob.